They're coming for the kids. But we're coming for them! Sisters broken badges flashing in the night. Knock down doors, no warrant, no right. Take the children, tear the families apart. Hide behind protection while you rip out the heart. File fabricated, lies on the stand. Judges in their pocket, money changing hands. Parents screaming, cameras never show. The real abuse happens when the CPS shows. Scott ever standing, fighting Tennessee, DCS. For separation, they tore the family from his chest. Placed on a registry, no charges, no crime. Blount County, DCS, crossing every line. Evers versus the state, lawsuit in federal court. Exposing the corruption, tearing that system apart. Years of battle, justice delayed, but not denied. A father's resolve with truth on his side. No mercy, no justice, just power unchecked. We expose the corruption, put them under the rack. Got it for CPS. We won't stop, we won't rest. Breaking news every day. Truth cuts like a blade. Got it for CPS. Your empire's gonna fail. We fight for the families. We fight for the free. CPS. Your time is over. You'll see. Another case buried, another life destroyed. Numbers manipulated, stories over deployed. They call it protection, we call it abduction. State-sponsored kidnapping, legal corruption. Parents labeled unfit for daring to speak. Question the system and they label you weak. We document every raid, every lie, every theft. The resistance is growing, no more silent regret. No mercy, no justice, just power unchecked. We expose the corruption, put them under the rack. Got it for CPS. We won't stop, we won't rest. Breaking news every day. Truth cuts like a blade. Got it for CPS. Your empire's gonna fade. We fight for the families. We fight for the free. CPS. Your time is over. You'll see. You took the innocent. You destroyed the home. Now the people are waking. And we're coming for your throne. No more silence. No more fear. The revolution starts right here. Got it for CPS. We won't stop, we won't rest. Breaking news every single day. Got it for CPS. Your kingdom's gonna break for every parent, for every child set free. CPS, we're gunning for thee. This is the podcast, Gunning for CPS, hosted by Scott Evers. Relentless in his fight, Evers versus Tennessee DCS. A father who refuses to yield, exposing every injustice, demanding accountability, reclaiming what was taken. The battle continues. Stay vigilant. The truth is our weapon.
Well, who are we going to piss off today? Good evening, guys. I'm your host, Gunner. For Gunning for CPS, you'll have to forgive me if some people know, some people don't. Yes, recently with my heart condition, I am susceptible to heart attacks and ended up having a small one on Thursday, Friday, somewhere around in that area. Once again, that's why they give me the nitros. I have the pacemaker, those things. So you'll have to forgive me and bear with me this evening. As we proceed to educate you, once again, going through that, still a little tired, resting up, so on and so forth. It's something that just happened. It's what I live with at this point in period of time. And I thank you for all your support and everything, and you guys is understanding that. But fighting this battle in CPS, sometimes it may take some people for this thing to go down to give their last breath or their last effort in in honor of our children and our country, to save our country. It's not always. You got to understand. We have people that serve in the military that protect us from foreign entities. But it's the responsibility of every American out there to secure our liberties here at home. So when they come back fighting for that and protecting that, that they're able to come back to enjoy those freedoms for which they fought for. And that's not the case. As we're seeing, even CPS going after a lot of stuff, especially the people in the armed forces. Now, armed forces has stepped in on certain areas with some of these things and, figured some things out. But a lot of times, they're not even bothered. Even the story we did here a couple of weeks ago about Oklahoma, about one person that was of one particular tribe, and she was visiting somebody on another set of tribal land, and CPS came in and did what they did, and that is illegal. They cannot do that without the permission of the tribal chief, no matter what land they're on. They're not supposed to be there. And they are kidnapping children, indigent children. They're still doing this stuff. The same thing with this Kahigi project, experimenting on. I mean, this is a human rights issue, man. This is not just unconstitutional. This is the point. It's now a human rights issue. And guys, let's welcome Darren. Why don't you bring yourself in if you can hear me? He's going to help me out a little bit here as we go through the show to some of the time. Hey, buddy.
What's happening?
CPS, I guess you're Punisher boss lady now. When did you get that new title?
Yes. I'm a trans lady now.
Well, you know what? I'm glad you said that, because I have something constitutional that's going to ruffle some feathers, but it deals with the LGBTQ, whatever you want to call it, community, and how they have their voice in saying that we're not going to this, we're not going to that. Now, and this was a little extreme. I want people to understand this was extreme. But but listen to what this says. This deals with constitutional rights that we have to understand. If we want our constitutional rights, we have to understand that those other people that we live with across the street, we may disagree with, but you have to ensure that you don't violate their constitutional rights. Here, it's good video.
What is this?
That's a Nazi flag.
I don't know what to do, but I don't want to look at that. What would you do if your neighbor had that hanging up right there?
I don't know why it didn't. There
if it was me, I would mind my own business. What he's doing by hanging that flag is a constitutionally protected First Amendment activity.
Sorry,
what is this?
That's a Nazi flag.
I don't know what to do, but I don't want to look at that. What would you do if your neighbor had that hanging up right there where you could see it?
If it was me, I would mind my own business. What he's doing by hanging that flag is a constitutionally protected First Amendment activity, just like the pride flag that you hung up that your caption said that flag was in response to. She goes on to say that she's going to call the police and they're going to laugh at you. You get to hang up that pride flag. He gets to hang up the Nazi flag. I get to hang up my American flag. That's the beauty of this country, lady. We all get to do whatever we want.
Yeah. Yep. Facts.
Keeps it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
If you get this, I also get the same in return.
That's it.
You don't have to like it. We don't have to see eye to eye, but it's still constitutionally protected. And I don't think people understand. It's not just the government who's supposed to be acting constitutionally. We as Americans are supposed to be acting constitutionally when we deal with stuff.
That's right.
So if you don't know your rights, then you don't know how to act in public.
And just because you don't like something doesn't mean that you get to say something about it. When did that become the norm here?
One, yes, you have freedom, you have free speech. But once again, impeding that upon somebody else, if you're in public, you have every right to do whatever in public. Make an ass of yourself. There's one of your freedoms too. You get to act like an ass.
That's right.
And at the same time, people get to laugh at you. And if you don't believe that, go watch an episode of Matt Rife. Come on.
Matt Rife.
I mean, seriously. This dude goes on against people that are in wheelchairs, this and makes it, and we need to get to that to be able to laugh at ourselves again.
Yep.
Robin Williams understood this, that, you know, even back in my day when it came to, he was a lot of the popular comedian, this and that. I'm sure you remember him in that and several, which made him a great actor.
Yep.
And one thing he always saw was kind of like, hey, you get to do this, and he can do this, but you don't cross the line of, don't impede on their constitutional rights or destroy their property or this. This is where we coexist.
Right.
But every American that lives here has to, because you live in this country, abide by the Constitution. And if we taught the Constitution, here's the other thing, is my belief, Darren, and what do you think about this? And guys, in the comments, please. If the Constitution was actually taught and followed, even from a young age, you wouldn't have nowhere near the liberals that you have with some of this Nazi and some of this stupid shit that they come up with. And then as they get older, some of them hit reality hits of just like, well, I said this and I said that. Now no man wants to date me. You know, that type of comment. You know, I've been so feminist, now I can't have children.
Yep.
Or wait a minute, they found a way. They're going to reward us with children by stealing other people's kids through CPS and giving them to those people. If you don't believe me, go look at the numbers. Oh, you didn't know that. Yeah, they'll give them to single people, single women. I kid you not. And now there's a discrimination for single men. They won't do the same thing. Look at their numbers.
Yeah, no.
These are, listen, guys, how can you make a judgment on something if you don't even have children and never raised them? Never stayed up with them late at night, never changed a diaper, never done this and this, but you have a concept of somebody's told you this is how we raise kids, and you look back and you have some sort of weird freaking guilt as a social worker because you feel that mommy and daddy didn't take and treat you right, or you weren't fucking raised right, or some bullshit like that, boo-hoo shit. And no, they did the best they could with what they have. If you think there needs to be adjustments, well, then do it with your children when you have children. It's called changing a generational curse. Oh, did you say curse? Yes, there are curses. There are real curses, and you can see it as you get older. You can see the curse come through on people that have overtaken their lives.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir, you can.
Now, guys, we're and happy Father's Day to all you guys out there. I'm not going to argue with anything with Mother's Day, some of those other things. I give praise on Mother's Days for absent fathers and having to do this, but let's give the guys their time. Let's be respectful. Okay. We used to laugh at shit, but we used to know why, because you had people that came, and this is funny. I made a correlation the other day that I learned most of my stuff from World War II veterans.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want you to go back and look at the Battle of Athens, people. And if you don't know what that is, you really, really, really need to go look at it. It was a bunch of World War II vets that came back home to a corrupt local government, and they overthrew it by any means necessary.
Mm.
And when they did, they tore and they gutted out, and they made sure that this ain't going to happen again, because they were stealing people's money. They were oppressing people like slaves. I mean, it's no different than what's going on today that people are just now waking up to. But once again, the Declaration of Independence, yeah, you guys realize this isn't a crystal ball. This isn't a gypsy. This shows you the intelligence of our founding fathers, framers, whatever you want to call it. They told us this would happen. They knew it because they've seen that cycle go on as other people try to do the same thing. We're never going to be perfect at our goal, but the idea is to strive towards it. But what you've got now is a group of people that think you have to act a certain way according to what the government says or what the state says. The very basis of that is unconstitutional. And what goes on in a home is none of your business unless it's a crime.
Mm-hmm.
And that has to meet the measure. This bullshit of the civil stuff was weaponized by your state to make money and steal children. Because if the Constitution was followed, there wouldn't even be that court, because that court, that family court, when you face CPS, is unconstitutional. Article 3, Section 2, Clause 2. Yes, we have a federal lawsuit with a constitutional question on this. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people take it. It's filed as a whole separate standalone matter. Now, is that the only constitutional question that's coming down the pipe? I guarantee you it is not. But when you have a open and shut case that you have the criminal evidence enough to basically put them in handcuffs, when you have the evidence of what was done in their official capacity and in their stuff, and then you go through and go, here's where it says this, did you apply this? They are not keeping up with, they are failing dramatically in the lower courts, Darren. I think you can agree with me here, that they are not keeping up with federal decisions, nor state Supreme Court decisions. Why? Because they still believe that the Chevron doctrine is still in place, and they're still acting like it. If not, they're required to go back and study those, because they can't rule outside of them. You can't make an independent decision. You have to rule with what the Supreme Court says within that and within its ideals by law for you to sit there. That's why that was overturned. I was watching one the other day where, this guy come up and said something, was on video call. Well, I'm going to find you in contempt. Really? Where's my jury?
Right.
Excuse me? SEC versus Jartsky says for you to find me in contempt, for you to have those judicial powers, we have to have a jury here. That's the law, and you have to follow it. I'm going to bind you to it. And if you don't, then I'll take it to the Supreme Court, and then the Supreme Court will shove it down your damn throat. Because you're going to find out real fucking quick, because it's going to cost you everything.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But you got to know how to fight. We went through and broke the story here of the nurses telling you about the bad drug tests. Now the bad drug tests, now they're giving them, did you hear this, Darren? They're giving them to the cops for roadside tests.
Oh, okay. So more reasons to mess them up and chain in custody and all of that stuff, to contaminate them and all of that. Perfect. Just what we need.
Same companies, they're getting a contract. They wanted to up the contract. Well,
yeah.
Department of Health and Human Services, well, Sheriff's Department, hey, let's get bright. Let me give these tests. You've got to be, once again, certified to give these tests. It has to be in a controlled environment. It has to be sealed. There are rules for, and once again, you guys look up this stuff, and I'm not kidding. Go under the fucking rules for the labs, their policies and procedures, what has to be done to make sure it's not tainted or cross-contaminated. And if that's not followed, those rules are medical, and they must take and be followed. They're non-negotiable. Look them up. Then you have your drug test go, well, Your Honor, where's the baggie it was supposed to go in? And then it was sealed and supposed to be signed and before a witness and the whole freaking test and all this other stuff and all these other things. Are these perverted damn CPS women going in on these men? And I've heard tons of these stories coming in and what we use, what you call cock watching or cock hawking, when you have to take your pitch. This is not the military. You don't get to come into somebody's home and look at their other fucking parts or anything like that. You take them down, and they're doing this. Do you know how illegal that is?
Right on the roadside, too. Just right there on the side of the road.
Yeah.
Indecent exposure right there. Indecent exposure right there. The cops are making you pull us out right there on the side of the road. Indecent exposure just from the gates. If you did that, you'd be in deep, deep, deep trouble.
Yep. All sorts of, they've got all sorts of things coming up. And they're not just, they're saliva tests too. Well, how accurate are they? Once again, it's not this, it's not that. It's in a controlled environment. Tell me how you can get an undamaged sample on the side of the road with exhaust fumes and burnt rubber and asphalt and all the pollution and everything else in the damn air, that who knows what's been on that road or what chemical that could take and compromise that particular thing. Can you guarantee it? No. Well, then you've not met the standards.
Right.
See, this is why it's supposed to be done in a clean, sterile environment. There's a reason it's meant to do that way. Like a doctor's office or a testing facility, they have to meet their criteria. And so when they're inspecting, they say, did you meet the criteria? Are the rooms clean? Is this clean? Is this clean? And all this other stuff said, yes. Okay. You're not in fucking probation. Number one, you're not in the military. You're a free damn American. No, you're not going to watch me do shit. You want to look down something? Look down the barrel of something. If you're going to do that, because you're in my house with no warrant, and now you're in here making demands like a gazpacho, and if I don't, you threaten to steal my children, and you have no warrant, you're that ain't no different than somebody breaking in your house.
Right.
Where's your wallet? Where's your penis?
Yeah.
Let me see it.
Show me your
You
junk.
want your kids back? I get over here. And what is that called? That's called being a fucking predator. You don't need to look at that shit. You're not a fucking medical professional to even do that. You're fucking pervin. You're allowing somebody to do their predatory shit. Oh, you didn't connect the dots on that. Yes. Those are women that like to look. Well, no, I don't. This and that. Then why are you doing it? Because it's not mandatory. Obviously, it's for your enjoyment. Well, it
Right.
says we're supposed to, you are not this or that. Once again, even in that particular situation, and you go, well, let me give you an example. People that are out of jail that are on, what's it called, Darren?
House arrest, probation, parole.
Parole. They're on parole or probation, that type of thing. They have to go into a facility, and the person that does watch them pee is of the same sex. Now, some people say, well, that's gay. Well, if the person's not gay, like, dude, I don't like to do this, but I was in the military, and this is medical, and they're certified for it. It is what it is. But how many of them have those credentials to even do that? Did you ever challenge those? Show me the credentials. Then it's not valid, because if these credentials are not presented to the court and put on the record, it's inadmissible. Because the court can't practice medicine without a license. If so, and the judge tries it, or if the opposition does, or CPS does, where's your medical license? Well, we don't have to. Oh, no. Within these parameters of doing these tests, you must hold a certain credential in every state. If not, these testing facilities, like any lab test now, or some of those others, you have to meet those criteria.
Right. Well, with the
You don't believe
calibration on the machines, there's so many things that go together with these drug tests. So many things done.
Oh, yeah. Well, 90% of them, like any lab test now, they just collect. And then we seal, then we hit the protocol, and then it all goes out in a secured thing that is locked and everything else, and picked up and transported as a biohazard. Once again, this is why they get away with it, because try transference anything that's a biohazard and putting it on the road and meet the federal guidelines for biohazard. It has to be placarded properly. It has to be done. They just can't throw this shit in a van.
You got to be generated. You have to have a generator, a biohazard generator license. There's all kinds of things that you need to have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But they're getting away with breaking those rules. I was actually one of the people that established the rules for biohazard waste back in the 90s. They didn't even have rules when they were starting up with the biohazard. This came with cleaning up crime scenes and such. You used to be able to throw the stuff right in the trash.
Yeah.
And in the American Biorecovery Association, we established the rules with the red trash bags, with the tape, all that stuff. But yeah, you used to be able to just throw the stuff right in the trash. But it goes the same. Like these people, they're putting syringes, they're putting urine. What are they doing with the urine once they do those drug tests? They're just throwing it out. They're throwing it on the side of the road. Like, what are they doing? That's hazardous waste.
Yeah, and somebody's put it in a garbage can.
Right.
Do you realize you just committed a felony?
Right. Some guy's pulling the trash. He's going to get a cup full of piss on him now because you were wasting. You know what I mean? Like that's what they're doing.
Listen, and this is one of the things, believe it or not, you could go in and, like I said, upon a subpoena, you can go in and actually say, I want to go in and walk this particular facility in this particular area. This is my justifiable cause to find any policies, procedures, or anything else that violates this and that in day-to-day processes. And if they've been thrown in a trash can for the longest time and it's not marked in a proper colored bin, red, as biohazard, and put in a thing, and then like Darren said, it's sealed, it's taped, it will not leak or anything else, and it's handled by a special thing, and that bag goes into another bag that's a whole lot thicker that doesn't leak. There's a whole fucking process. They just don't put this shit in here for any particular thing. Those particular things he's talking about too, a lot of places, if you're near a place that has like steel, if you're doing steel, like Pittsburgh, Michigan, Indiana, those places, stuff like that have, and forgive me if there's other places that I didn't think of. But once again, that's where they use the ovens. They put it in and they incinerate the same way they do with drugs. They'll put everything in the incinerator and it gets so damn hot, it doesn't matter what's there. It's just all going to melt in. And what are you going to do? Lick the steel? I mean, come on. I mean, it kills everything because it's so hot. And this is, they said, hey, if we can do that, why can't we do that with the body? That's how that came across as far as cremation.
Right.
Hey, we can do this for steel and it just comes this, we got this. Well, what do we do with the ash? Well, you give that as a memento and it takes up less space. All I'm saying is if you're one there and it's much medical screw up this and that, and all of a sudden they put your ass in there and you sign for it, because you do not have to be embalmed. You can sign a piece of paper. You can go all natural. Believe it or not, you don't even have to have a coffin. You just have to have the proper paperwork.
Yep.
Seen all that stuff and researched that. But yeah, there's a lot of things that are out there, man, that we're just not. I don't know. It's like we need to wake up. And let alone there were secrets and everything. Did you hear about the former Italian president, Francesco, what is it, Cossiga, revealed that the 9/11 terrorist attacks were run by the CIA and Israeli Mossad now? The amount of information that's coming out from other countries of, hey, we knew this. We kept quiet on it. Well, since we're telling everybody secrets and we're snitching on the U.S., well, this is the intel that Russia's got. This is the intel this. But what do you expect, people, when your own government killed one of your own presidents? This is what they've been trying to root out, that people say, well, this is wrong. No, what we've been doing is wrong. It's been unconstitutional. And that's the whole thing that's been peeled back. Well, we feel your feelings stop when it becomes unconstitutional. I don't care how you feel or what you want. It stops when it crosses the line. That's where everything else. But once again, we've played too much of this. This is why we've had an overwhelming response of such minority people having such a loud voice, which is, great to get them some sort of exposure.
Yeah.
But at the same time, do you feel you need the same exposure as a much larger group? No, because quantity makes a fucking difference when it comes to where your voice is heard. If you want to have that, say, hey, I'd like something. The problem is we've got too much stuff even on the books that if the Constitution was truly followed, we don't have to deal with half of this other stuff. We don't need special exemptions because of this race or this color or this and that. Why? The rules apply to everybody. It's just that simple. When we start creating certain things, then you've gotten away from everybody's equal.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's called the common sense doctrine. It's not we don't want to hear you. We want to hear you and see with this and that, but do you think it's more important that the concept of a constitutional republic is you're not left out without a voice? When somebody or a special interest group puts a big microphone or megaphone in front of you and you use it to scream to the world, and now you've got exposure that most people haven't figured out in their brain, hey, this must be something major, and it's really not. Or you get a bunch of people jacked up on their feelings, like that one lady would say, well, I feel, yeah, but you exercised your constitutional right. He's exercising the same thing, and you can agree to disagree, but like he said, the cops are going to laugh at you because you did this and you did that, and that burned your butt. Well, you kind of started the argument, didn't you? How about we put up nothing other than the American flag and just be done with it? Then now we're together on something. With this whole thing of changing colors and everything else, don't insult a veteran by changing those colors. They mean something. Red, white, and blue means something. Go look it up. If you weren't taught in school, everything has a meaning. When it was put together, it had a symbol. To do that is to insult this. Well, our heritage, yeah, no country's perfect. Welcome to it. Everybody that of every color and every religious belief and this and that was a slave at one time or another throughout history. Boo-hoo, get over it. Seriously. I mean, you're not there. Are you in slavery? The only slavery it's the stuff you allow in this country. We, the people, are the ones that have the power. People don't get that. And when you stop tolerating, and then you start educating people in law enforcement, this and that, of constitutional rights for one and the other, and look through everything. And this is what we're not taught. We're taught religion. We're taught this. We're taught that. How many times were you taught the first thing you do when you go out in public or even private or anything like that would affect other people, to look at things through a constitutional lens? Oh, you weren't, were you? You should, because you're an American. And to live in this country, it's a requirement. Why? Because ignorance of the law does not negate your responsibility or your uh, action, your consequences for breaking those laws. You don't get to vacate from them, whether you know it or not. Well, I didn't know. That doesn't work. Not in a court of law when you break the law. A true law. Understand, states don't have laws. They have statutes and codes. Even though you've been sold another lie that, well, it's a state law. There is no such thing. The only state law you have is the state's constitution, which reflects, once again, the U.S. Constitution. And it's almost like a parallel almost. And one thing that they can do, they can rule on theirs, but it can never be out of harmony with the U.S. Constitution. The stuff that's been going on, people have allowed it. They've rolled over and they have intimidated people. They have embarrassed people. They have wore people out financially and everything else. This is a full-on blitz attack on America. And they're doing it to reprogram our children and remove their culture, their history, and their heritage. Mm-hmm. And this is why they have pushed so much to do certain things and why it feels so crappy out there, because they don't make money off of it. And think about it. When you truly think and you're sold that thing of it's better here or better there, man, there's a reason why the no-fault divorce is bullshit, in my opinion. One, there needs to be a reason. If not, y'all need to grow the hell up and work it out an adult and be forced to adult. I'm sorry. If you have something that you're really legitimately at this, in other words, abuse, and some of these other, well, it's mental abuse and this and that, get some damn counseling or figure out it ain't all about you.
That's right.
We're created different. Get to learn your opposite sex or your partner. They are not like you. They're supposed to complement you or help you. If they don't do that, you have chosen unwisely. That's your responsibility to correct. And some people, they get beat down with damage over the years or the decades. Yes, they do change, and not for the good. And I have seen this happen over and over again, especially with CPS stuff. Good fathers, good mothers, good people, completely and their family obliterated. Next thing you know, their kids are in and out of this, in and out of that. I mean, there was a statistic I put up on my one page of this and that of like kids coming out of that were in foster care. And it says, by the time they hit 16, the girls, 50% of them are pregnant. 50% in foster care. Those are internal numbers, and that was by the government sources. I mean, this is their own internal study thing. And did you know that over 70% of those kids that are in foster care are likely to go right to the jailhouse?
Wow.
Which gives what? More money to the courts. You see the pattern here, people. I'm going to screw your life up as a kid. Yep. And then I'm going to make sure that you don't get unoppressed and you are just completely hopeless and you get stuck in this pattern of depression. You continue this. Why? Because we make more money off of you long term, putting you in the jails that they make profit off of. Go look at it. Yep. Go look at who owns the jails.
How many of those jails are private, Gunner? You know?
I believe it's somewhere around 86%. And there's a lot of places moving too. I know that we're talking about one that it become back to the county. But once again, as they go towards privatized, they can contract with anybody. That it has to deal with a lot of contracts. So if you go with that, if it's a county and a county building, well, then you still have to, if you take on, say, federal prisoners, even for a period of time of this, that, otherwise you don't get the federal money. You negotiate for those things, or they'll actually get a contract with the federal government of saying, listen, we'll build a brand new state-of-the-art jail for our county people, this and that. But if you've got people for the federal level and you want to keep them here, it's not, like a crazy crime or something, we can jail them here, not go to the federal penitentiary.
So they hold 96,000 individuals and there is 158 privately owned and operated jails across 31 states. They hold 96,000 individuals.
Yep. Now, you can look at it that way. There's some places the state owns the facility and they subcontract out that it's not the sheriff's deputies or something like that. They actually have private, and they will subcontract those jailhouse, like his jailers and stuff like that, on a subcontract level.
Yeah.
Yep, and right there, Barbara Ann, right there. That's what Barbara Ann. You see this in the comments? Foster care to prison pipeline. That's what they called it. Now, if you don't know Barbara Ann was part of Rebecca's house. That was a religious institution that kidnapped and transferred kids around for sexual abuse. And she's not young. So this has been going on for a long time, either within religious aspects or within state aspects. You don't believe me? Go look up Georgia Tan in Memphis, Tennessee. She actually worked with a family court judge to obtain children she could trade off. They don't want you to hear that part of the story, though. Go look up the whole story, because you won't find everybody Georgia Tan. Oh, what an evil person! I'm glad that these people caught him. Yeah, but you don't hear the rest of the story, to where it was a family court judge working with her too. They omit that from the short story, don't they? Because God forbid that the family court system would be involved, in that particular thing, to traffic children caught.
By the age of 20, the lifetime incarceration rate jumps to 42% for young adults who have aged out of the foster care. Youth who change homes frequently face higher risk. One study found that 90% of foster youth with 5 or more placement moves will become involved with the juvenile justice system. 90%.
That's how they keep making money and bank. That's what keeps these courts open. They are generating and creating their own revenue. They are doing something unnatural, which of course people are going to fight. Kids are going to fight. They're not going to, this is not natural. I don't know these people. I just want to go home. I want my family. I want the people I grew up with. And they're telling me things I know that doesn't be true. So now they're fighting until these kids are beat down and brainwashed to believe the party fucking line is basically where it is. And they will medicate them till they believe what CPS wants them to believe. This is absolute MK Ultra, 100%. Medicate them.
Here's another one for you, buddy.
The truth.
Listen to this. About 8% of children who have a confirmed CPS report also have a parent who goes to state prison within 12 months.
Yep. Listen, man, you have your kid taken, your cheese slides off the cracker. This is what they were hoping that was going to trigger a lot of men, is to get so angry and go after him. But once again, they're uneducated that they can't say why I'm going after him, or going after to shoot, to kill, to do all these other people, this and that, and standing up for their rights. If people knew what were going on in family court systems, really sat in there through the things, but they don't look at it through the lens they're supposed to, there's the biggest problem. And what the other thing that these family courts are not respecting, and they say, well, it doesn't apply in a civil matter. That is not fucking true. Constitutional rights apply both criminally and civilly. 100% they do. And rights that are given can never be taken away. The Department of Justice has already ruled, and they have it in their, once again, in their manuals and stuff like that. Juveniles have a 4th and 5th Amendment guaranteed right. Now, Darren, what do we get from the 5th Amendment for our audience?
The right to not talk about it. We don't want to incarcerate ourselves. We don't want to commit ourselves to being guilty.
Your Miranda. You guys have heard the thing, your Miranda rights. They read you your Miranda rights. It comes from the 5th Amendment. So that means your child or your juvenile was required to have a lawyer. Oh, was your child given a lawyer? No, that's a due process violation. Why? They're guaranteed that. When you can prove it in a court and say, I'm required, where was the child's attorney? When the child was questioned, was her an attorney present to preserve the child's rights?
And don't fall into that bullshit where they say that the GAL is your child's attorney, because they are not.
No, they are paid by this state to oversure. Once again, they say for this is the child. But look at now here's the other thing, how to catch your GALs. Go to the statewide handbook and the requirements under the code of your state. And there is literally a set of rules and everything else that guardian ad litems must follow and do within every case. If they do not, violation of due process. You didn't do what the code says you're supposed to do. This is now this case is tainted. Did the GAL take and pull the medical records like they were supposed to? No. Did they do an independent investigation like they were supposed to? No. They just went along with CPS. That's called fraud, people, and you can call out your GALs. There is none of this on the record, and they're required to put this all on the record that they did it, and the judge or magistrate is supposed to know the jobs of the GALs and CPS and all their codes and everything else. They're supposed to know. To sit in that position and rule, they must know all of them. So if something wasn't followed, see, they're all the time after you. Name one time you've seen a judge or magistrate, because I haven't, go through and critique CPS or their entire side to make sure they've gone through all the state requirements, like a checklist. They don't do it.
No.
They don't do it at all.
No.
But that's where remember that word fair and equitable? That's what the care. Tell me how that's fair and equitable when the GAL won't do the job. Now we have a problem with due process. And now this is why it's not fair and equitable. Why? They didn't do their job to make sure anything that needed to be, or this caught in an early stage, to do this and have an individual opinion, to where that GAL comes up, Your Honor, upon my own investigation and from what I've seen, I do not agree with CPS, but they won't do it because it keeps them fed. Prove me wrong.
Yep.
Because I can analyze any case, look at your records, go through everything else and this and that, as I have for many other people, to point out some things and educate them. We'll say, here's an example. If it says this and you see this where this is written down, or the fact of is it there or is it not there? You guys are looking at this all wrong too. Don't just look for what's there, what they did to me. Look for what they didn't do. Now you're getting into the criminal side. When you fill out your federal civil rights 1983 or anything else and you draft it, in my opinion, and this is not legal advice, okay? This is what I've experienced, okay? Draft it what makes more sense and it looks better to the court with the frame of mind of though you're filing criminal charges and meet the criminal standard. I'm going to file a civil case saying you've done all this criminal stuff to me. And I've done it where you did it, how you did it. This is the code you broke, both here's state, here's federal. So not only did you do that, you broke your own state code and the federal, because you tie them all together. Because what are you doing? You're looking for them to take and, in some cases, yes, overrule the state. Why? Because if it was unconstitutional from the beginning, they sure as hell have to flip it. Yeah, if your case started out to where they ignored all this and it's criminal action and that's what you're going after them civilly, is saying, here's the evidence to do the criminal, to where you can present this before a grand jury and you're going to get a warrant for their arrest. Go look at that. That's how you get this stuff, guys.
Yeah.
You wonder, you guys are struggling so bad. I mean, Darren, you know this, with federal civil cases, I got rejected. And then I look it over and I go, man, you got your feelings up in there and you didn't keep it clean like it was a crime scene. Describe it like a crime scene with the supporting evidence as exhibits just to get in the door. The rest of it, once you're past the threshold or the sifting, then you can turn around and go, hey, listen, the Constitution's non-negotiable and we have to go by constitutional canons. Who's teaching about constitutional canons right now, Darren? Me.
You are, Darren.
Nobody.
Well, you.
Well, let's put it this way. You're going to law school and everything else. When I compare a case law and a case law and a case law, and it goes back and forth, and it looks like this favors him, but it doesn't align with a constitutional canon, which one are you defaulting to? By law, are you supposed to default to?
Got to go to the canons.
Now, in your states, you have judicial canons. You can argue those. Those are criminal activities. What did they do to violate their constitutional canons when they heard your case? This is the constitutional canon. This is what they did, and this is how it hurt me. Each line is just like that when you're going through your affidavit of truth, your complaint. Exactly like that. It's just that simple. Oh, it hurt little Johnny's feelings, and this is rough on the kids. That's punitive. They don't want to hear that stuff till you get in court, and then that's pain and suffering. You argue that in court, and everybody knows that, but too many people I see file these cases, screw it up, and their feelings are all over the damn pages, and they go, I don't understand. I followed everything, and I did everything and went down the frame of mind you had. And I go, no, you didn't, because you got your feelings all up on number so and so, number so and so, number so and so. Well, the magistrate come back and told me, well, this wasn't good. That guy go, do you realize you have a window? And if you put on every piece of paper at any given time, I reserve the right to correct, amend, or anything else this fucking filing on everything. They can't throw you out. Why? Because you agreed to it when you took it. You filed it. So now they can't kick you out. So the magistrate pointed out, well, they're just an ass. Or this, that. No, they told you what to correct, dumbass. I have had that conversation, Darren, so much with the magistrate. I go, well, let me look over at this. And I go, you realize you just got this is what you need to correct on your test before you turn it in on your pretest to make you, the cheat pass, those teachers that just wanted the passing grade. Well, here's all the answers. They're telling you what to fix. Don't cop a damn attitude. It's just you have a timeline between that and a final judgment to where the judge says, I dismiss. You're going to get that analytical thing. If you're getting the analytical thing, they're seriously looking at it.
Yeah.
I mean, am I wrong in saying any of this, Darren? From the law?
No, 100% right on, man. Right on. Nose dead, right on.
You guys have got to learn to file in a federal court. File it as sui juris as one of we the people. Stop this pro se. Stop playing their game and getting caught up in legalese. When you're in a federal 1983 court, you there as we the people, and I have been damaged by the government. And when it comes down to these things, know how to write a constitutional question. If you've got a question where, hey, is this constitutional? Write a freaking brief on it, submit it as a separate filing. Don't just put it in with your thing. Well, my constitutional thing and this and that. Well, I have a constitutional question in my complaint. No, it's a filing. It's like a motion.
That's right.
Hey, constitutional question filing. It's not a motion. I have a question that the court is now mandated to answer. And you're going to put together, here's the constitutional saying, this is what's happened to me. My question is this constitution this? And this is why I say it is a constitutional rights violation, how it's unconstitutional. And you give your reasoning. It's not that hard. Now, you can go a little bit deeper and go into, like what some of us do, go into the history. Why? Because if I can quote stuff from SCOTUS, sitting members of SCOTUS, listen to me, guys, even in their own personal books they've published, gives you the ideals of a sitting SCOTUS member. And what is that going to give to the judge? The judge has got to follow what? Rulings of SCOTUS or frames of mind. They know what SCOTUS. So if you put that in there, there's no more discussion, because on appeal,
follow the rule of the law. First of all, first and foremost, they got to follow the law.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll go to the case law and the references in that way. But first and foremost, they have to rule by what the law states.
Yeah. And there's a ruling out there that SCOTUS says, and you guys got to listen to this, and you guys don't know the scuttlebutt on SCOTUS is this. All rulings pertaining to the Constitution is that the Constitution says what it means and means what it says, verbatim. No interpretation, it says what it says. But we have to go back also to the ideals, to where you can reference back things such as the Federalist Papers and this and that to go into the reasoning. So the reasoning that was done even by the forefathers is already considered. And if that same thing is up for debate, well, then we know how it turned out, because this was the ruling and this is the way it came out. That discussion's already been made. We're not going to have this again, because now you're bringing up a discussion that was made when the Constitution was written and it felt this way. I hate that for you, but that's just the way we're going to rule. Why? Because that's what the framers intended. But you got to know how to do this, guys. You got to know how to quote them, get into, here's a little bit of SCOTUS's mind. Here's a little bit of our founding fathers' mind. Here's this, and support the hell out of it. You guys get in here and just go, oh, I was done wrong, and this is how I was done wrong, and this is that, and you figure it out. It's your job. That's not what filings are for. You got to know structure of filing. And this is the same, is it not, for both state and federal court, Darren?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Learn learn to file, learn how to do this, and you should be. And here's the funny thing, in my opinion, especially if you went to public school, you should have known how to do this, file a case in federal court as a citizen of this country before you graduated high school. If that was a requirement, that you understood your constitutional rights and be able to write and file your own and sue juris if you needed to, because that's the power of the people was done, and we require that of our educators. Think of how much this other stuff's going to go to where everybody's now thinking with a constitutional lens, including your teachers, and make it a requirement. And when they start other bullshit, listen, I'm not paying you for your opinions. Listen, teachers, I pay you to do a job and educate according to this particular thing. This is your contract. You leave your feelings at the door. Why? You're here to what? You're selling your time, including your body and everything, when you take a job to perform a task under contract. It's just that simple. Anything more doesn't matter. I don't need your opinions. I don't need that. I just need you to hammer this nail. And I don't need your mouth. You are not required to talk. You're not required to do anything else and this and that. If you do, now you've got it out there. And consider it in public. I mean, we were raised that way. When you're in work or you're outside your home or off your property, act as though you're in public.
Yep.
Everybody's watching this, that. Now you have to watch out for your constitutional rights. Even more. Why? You're in public. But keep in respect somebody else's constitutional rights. Is it that hard? But listen, we've got another one that I took and found it. Darren, let's watch this one and go through this. This goes a little bit back to our founding. What's not constitutional is considered void.
Constitution was supposed to be the line no government could cross. Back in 1803, the Supreme Court case Marbury versus Madison changed everything. Chief Justice John Marshall wrote words that still shake the system today. A law repugnant to the Constitution is void. Read that again. Void. That means if a law violates the Constitution, it was never supposed to have power in the first place. The founders didn't create government to rule over rights. They believed rights came first and government came second. So the real question is, how many people obey laws they've never even questioned? Because history shows something dangerous. When people stop knowing their rights, power grows unchecked. The Constitution wasn't written for comfortable times. It was written for moments when citizens would need to draw a line and say, no further. And maybe that's why most people are never taught to actually read it. What's one law you think should be challenged against the Constitution? In America,
Needed myself. Marbury versus Madison.
Mm-hmm.
Anything contradictory to the Constitution is void. No further argument, no more anything else, but you have got states enforcing things that are void. Because they know there's not people watching, there's not people filing cases, doing constitutional questions, and making them void. That's how they get away with it. Because we the people have forgot to what? Well, I need to file a constitutional question. You realize if you file a constitutional question, even a lower court, that most of you don't know, that requires the Attorney General to file a 1983 on behalf of the state. Now, I would be explicit when I filed that constitutional question. And you have to send a copy both to the U.S. Attorney's Office and to the other, and then require them within so many days, once again, for whatever they process, 30 days, 60 days for them to file, and to have a response and then have a stay on all proceedings until the constitutional question is done. Now, the lower court, when you file that, Darren, does the lower court have any power, including the state Supreme Court, to continue?
No, you have to get the answer first. You have to get that answer first.
So if they continue, they're actually committing a felony.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
So you need to file that with your stay that you know this, that you are willing to file it, because if the state doesn't do their particular thing and answer the question, which means they can no longer punish you They can't do anything else or make any rulings. It freezes everything. No, Your Honor, I filed that before this hearing. You can't make a ruling on this while there's a constitutional question that's on there. If not, that's when you have to escalate for corrupt judges. You go to, I believe the next process, from my understanding, Darren, correct me if I'm wrong, is to the writ or to the Supreme Court of your particular state with a mandamus or a writ of prohibition. And you guys can research one or both of those and file and you can file them both if you need to where the Supreme Court will come down and say, well, now I'm filing with the Supreme Court. If you're not going to follow it and continue it, I'm going to put, the judge on notice, the whole 9 yards, and I'm going to file this. And now you have to stop. And if the state Supreme Court doesn't, and then you report this, continuously to the Attorney General, both that and the federal Attorney General. And you notify both those offices, keep them in the loop with all your emails, or especially if you get a contact person when you file whatever that you want to do, the notice that you want to contact and a return or a response, an accountable person you can talk to. You can even file it under the ADA for my buddy Henry. Yes, because of ADA. And then you compel them, and that they can't, and that if they proceed, then you file with that the notices you filed in the lower court, letting them know you did notify the lower court and everything else. And if the Attorney General doesn't want to do, well, fine, I'm going to file the question. I'm not going to wait on you. That is usually your best alternative. Now you have to stop, because then we actually get a decision from the federal court. Here we go. I got a 1983 question. This is my question. We cannot proceed. And then you're asking them to possibly, if they don't follow it, well, that's when you do a change of jurisdiction under the same case number. Why? They didn't file or follow, like you said, the federal ruling. Darren, you said you had somebody that the federal ruling told them give the kids back, this and that, and CPS never gave them back. You got to follow up with that paperwork and say, Your Honor, now we're actually asking for sanctions. We're asking for, we're asking you to do. They're not following your orders. This is contempt of court, and we're looking for people to be arrested. But if you don't follow up with the paperwork, how's the judge and the court supposed to know? Because you can't call the judge, talk to the judge. You have to file the thing with the court, and then now they're in contempt. Say, well, guess what? Now I'm moving for sanctions for $2 million. Teach them a lesson, Your Honor. They're in the wrong for not filing, this, and now they've interrupted this or returning my kids. But people stop. They don't do the follow through. Why? Because they don't know. Well, the judge ordered they should have did you file for your contempt and everything else when they don't? To make sure the court comes in and enforces it. Because I guarantee you piss off a federal judge enough, he'll fucking have the U.S. Marshals go collect them and present them before the judge, and even hold them in custody. Come with me. Why? The judge has called you up. You're coming with me. When do we have court? In 2 days. You will sit in a cell until then. That's illegal detainment. No, it's not. It means you're required to be here. We don't trust you to come in on your own recognizance. It's within the purview and the powers of the judge, especially a federal judge. Now you're going to answer. You're going to stand before me and then just say, why didn't you follow my order? You have so much time to get in here. You better answer me. I will compel you as a federal judge. If not, I will issue a warrant for non-compliance. I will put out a warrant for you. Criminal for negligence. Failure to follow an order. But you got to do your paperwork and follow through. I can't stress this enough. We've tried to educate you here on this channel the best we can. I love you guys, but at the same time, if you're getting it right and you're doing it right, share with others the same path that we've done to educate you and pass it down. Hey, we have to do this. Well, I'm hearing somebody else. Well, I'll tell you what, you got somebody that ain't got no skin in the game out there running their mouth about this and that. Let me tell you something. You ain't got no skin in the game. Why are you fighting? Once again, you got nothing to lose. That type of thing. You've got nothing vested in this to win. So now that makes me question your motives. I really do. When somebody comes up, well, you should do this. I get a lot of people telling me what I should have done, what I couldn't done. Well, you're not going to win this, or you're going to have case law. I'm not looking for case law. I'm looking for precedents. Precedents is that same case law that you just heard about, Marbury versus Madison. That is so ingrained. It's not just case law. It's so constitutionally sound, it will never be overturned, and it must be followed. So when you use them in the appropriate court, Your Honor, Marbury versus Madison, boom, it's over with. He's not going to overturn that, nor he doesn't have the power. He has to go with that ruling, but you've got to use the ammo you're given. Listen, guys, you can't listen. If you've got 22 caliber and you've got, like I said, 22 caliber, and then you got a 5.56, and then you got like a big 50, or you got like a cannon. You got to know which weapon to use at the right time, and don't waste up all your stuff. And then like I said, then you can go nuclear on their ass with things and just really tie their hands. And now what are you going to do? And Darren's reviewed my case, and so has a lot of other people. When I was said I was done wrong and unconstitutionally and illegally and the whole damn 9 yards and everything, I have the evidence to back every bit of what I set up.
Yes, she does. I agree with that 1,000%.
There's no, well, that ain't what that meant shit. No, it's hardcore. You're screwed.
Mm-hmm.
Even the fact that they conspire to even violate the state constitution. Now, if you haven't heard, there's a what is that girl's name? Erin something or other. She just started coming up here in Tennessee, on the Tennessee side. She's like a part of the House of Representatives. Have you heard about that, Darren?
Mm-hmm. I sure have.
Yeah, so she's actually filed a report with the federal government of actual mass corruption of CPS in Tennessee. And
I was just reading that.
Yeah, all these parents have done what they've said and this and that, and they still stole their children.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, literally stole their children. It's like, no, that's not the way this is supposed to go. And I'm trying to think of what her name.
I'll pull it up here.
Aaron, something. I want to say something. Anyway, if you can find it, then just pop it up there. But yeah, state of Tennessee, man, it's all falling apart. You guys, the reckoning is hitting Tennessee hardcore in multiple counties. We're getting some of our politicians to wake up. They are hearing some things, and this is not about anything more than mass corruption. I mean,
are you talking about Afton Bain?
Yeah, Afton Bain. That's it. Never mind. Yeah, she's like a younger, blonde-headed, person. She's actually filed a complaint, like 7 of them or something like that, against CPS.
She filed a complaint to Attorney Pam Bondi and other senior DOJ officials requesting Civil Rights Divisions open an investigation on DCS.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they'll get a copy. They've already got a copy of mine, so they're aware of what's going on. And if you guys don't know and see what's been going on, especially here in Blount County, Tennessee, because I've had a lot of people, man, aren't you scared of this and this? Man, they ain't got time for me, because they're getting busted left and right between TBI and FBI in here for one thing or another. I mean, you had this whole, they caught 11 officers out of Knox County, part of the drug task force, spending money and this and that with that. Well, that drug task force also includes Blount County and this and that. So they're looking into all that. I think there's more charges coming from that. And they promised there was more. And so there's a bunch of other stuff that people have gotten busted, more people with touching children, more teachers, more of administration. When you go into the town hall meetings, let me tell you how you can tell that you've got a town that's starting to speak up and fed up, is when they all show up to the county meetings. I mean, they pack it. Whereas before, unless you had business there, nobody showed up, because I had to go for a particular meeting to get something done on the zoning part of it there, which has to go before the council. And I took care of that business, but there was like nobody there. I'm like, where the hell is everybody? And nobody was there. Now you go to those meetings, oh man, they're blasted. They're full out the door. I mean, with the mass corruption, calling people calling stuff out about the teachers and the inappropriate touching, and then this administrative, and then this cop going dirty with child porn, and this. I mean, it's all over, guys. If it's not here, it's the city police going through, and it's just bam, 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 bam. It's what they say, man. It rolls downhill, and once that boulder starts going, man, and people start looking at those things, it's just a matter of time before these people get caught.
Mm-hmm.
because one's connected to this, and as soon as they figure out the little intricate spider web they have for sharing information and everything else like that, um, just straight away, man, it's going to be, they're going to find every bit of it. And that's why they're getting, oh, well, this cop had this, well, this, that. I mean, these guys busting this stuff, you got to understand they should go through special counseling if they run into one of these damn pedophiles with all the shit they got to look at. Man, they need to go into counseling after that and make sure they're okay, because there are some people, man, they can't handle looking at that stuff, and it breaks them. I mean, it does a certain amount. I mean, it takes a certain person to be able to look that kind of evil in there and go, yeah, that stuff's on there. And that's all I'm going to tell you. I ain't even going to show it to you. But the fact that somebody else had to watch it is just traumatizing. And it changes people. Um, this is, why we need to make sure that, instead of spending this money on CPS, law enforcement needs to handle this. We need to support those that are in law enforcement doing the right thing, constitutional thing, that when there is somebody harming a child, it is taken care of, and it's taken care of lawfully, not with all this other bullshit. Because trust me, when if things come back constitutional and you realize how bad CPS is involved in stuff, there is a good possibility it will overturn cases where people are convicted of doing things to children and set them free because they screwed up by not following the Constitution. I'm sorry, that's not my fault. Well, we can't just, no, this is up to law. This is where you put the blame where it was. Had you have been doing things the right way and doing it the way you were supposed to have been, properly trained, which you weren't, this goes back to that. This is why you start uprooting, removing people from offices and everything else, because these things are not done and done properly. Let's look at it through the right lens here, people. It wasn't the people that caught everything in the corruption. You got to understand, it will be tied into certain cases to where some people are going to get out. And then you're going to have to retrain people because they need to do it the right way and the constitutional way, which I agree for anybody going through a criminal thing that it must meet all those standards. But as soon as you realize something's not right, that's not my fault. That's what we hired these people to do, was to do things lawfully and legally, because those are two different things. Lawfully means constitutional. Make sure you do it. In other words, don't be a cop that you walk in without a warrant and screw up something where this dude's just committed mass murder, and now this dude's going to get off because you couldn't do something as wait 10 minutes to get a proper warrant with probable cause. What's the proper reason? There's blood all over the walls. That's probable cause. Get a warrant. Cover your butt. Make sure it's done and it's done right. Don't go right. Well, there may be people in there. Listen, unless you hear something, you don't have probable cause. You see what I did there? Unless you have this, in other words, there's somebody's in, those particular things. So looks like somebody's in here. Hey, Dad, and hey, Gunner. Somebody, Ryan W-X7K. Is that one of yours? Darren?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm reading this article.
Okay. Somebody just posted in the comments. It said, "Hey, Dad. Hey, Gunner." So.
Oh, hello. Yeah, no, I was reading this article. She wrote this letter to the House of Representatives. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. She's citing these letters, the disabilities to Section 504 Rehabilitation Act.
Yep.
It's crazy. Nailing them right to the wall.
Yeah. Well, like I said, that's because she's looking at the evidence and things. And once again, we don't always have a constituent that will listen. Have I brought the matters of what's going on to Blount County to, what's his name? The House Rep Tim Burchett. I've been in touch with his office. I've been in touch with a couple of people in the state and this and that. I do have something out to her, waiting on a response from her to see what's going on. But they don't want, most people don't want to touch this because when they face the reality of how bad this is and how corrupt it is, you won't realize, and when we start ripping that evil out through the Constitution, how bad and how deep it got its claws in. And it's going to hurt a lot of feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people don't do that. Oh, wait a minute, what's that? It has nothing to do with it. It's government. We can function without state government without a problem. Without a problem. But now you're going to have people turn around and ask, then why do I pay property taxes if all of you, the whole state, turned on me? Oh, yeah. Now you've done this to me you've done it to the people of this state for a decade or so. I now have a solidified reason not to pay taxes. Why? Because you used it to turn on the people. You're unconstitutional. Now, how are you going to deal with that? Because that's one of the questions that may come up with that is constitutional question is whether or not a state is allowed to collect state taxes or property taxes if they were operating a system to, once again, a terrorist organization using our tax dollars and everything else. I'm not going to pay to fund that terrorist organization for paying my state taxes. I mean, think about that. People get together and say, "Now we ain't going to do it." Now what are you going to do? Oh, then other people start getting a voice, and then they turn around and go, "Oh, wait a minute, no, you're only supposed to be dealing with this. You're not supposed to be taxing we the people." Why? Taxation, property taxes, are they legal? No, they're unconstitutional. Either you own your land or your stuff, and to own it is not a privilege. You should own it. But they give you something called a deed that is a whole different document. And Darren, correct me if I'm wrong. A deed is a whole different legal document than ownership papers or a land patent.
Mm-hmm.
You go down that. Well, Gunnar, I've heard all that. That's that sovereign citizen. No, it's legal. You've had the shenanigans pulled over you because when they pulled you in to get a mortgage, you plugged into that system. And once it's over with and everything else, you own it free and clear. There's no reason to continue to tax it. Why? You're not making payments on anything. Otherwise, when is the taxation? The taxation is supposed to be what? When you buy or sell a house, it's at a flat rate, is it not? Then why am I constantly taxed? Oh, that's for this and that's for that. What happens when those things like the roads are falling apart? Well, it's supposed to be for infrastructure. It's supposed to be for this. There's a conversation that a lot of people here have had. Well, how come our county, because our county fire department is what are called paid volunteers with a few people that are full time? But no, it's not included in your taxes. Why? Because nobody put together a charter in this county. They have a set of rules, but not a charter that would basically say we the people contract with the local government saying this. They just let them have it, and that they've been running it ever since. And when the people figure it out here in Blount County, we need to get together and put together a charter that does term limits, that does this, that does that, that limits they can only have a certain percentage of increase per year, per capita, the whole 9 yards. And once again, the people need to do it. And those in government, once again, don't need to write it, and the people need to vote on it.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever it is, then that goes in as a charter. You can't go outside this charter. What does the charter create? Accountability. You're violating the county charter. You can't do that. The charter says this. You can't. It's almost like constitutional. This is your binding agreement with whoever sits on that council. And everybody goes, well, they get away with this and that. Well, then put them on a leash.
Mm-hmm.
You complain all day, but when are you all going to start filing the paperwork here? This is what we
talk about it. Be about it, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's the same thing I have with people that have no skin in the game. They don't have no damn federal case filed. And you're over here sitting there, blah, blah, blah with me. Now, understand there are people that I greatly respect that maybe don't have their stuff in, but they've got experience with a lot of other things, but they also they're successful, within certain aspects of the law. But once again, that's getting their feet wet. But at the same time, when you've got people that go, well, this is how I'm going to file my federal case, excuse me, and this is how everybody else should file theirs, in my opinion. Well, one, you're not a lawyer. Number two, go ahead and do it. But do you have anything pen and paper, or have you got it filed? No, but I'm planning on it. But then shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Yep.
Because you're over here telling me that's not doing case law. Winning my case is not a matter of, and like I said, Darren's looked at it, it's open and closed, it's clear and convincing. You're screwed.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as we get a few other rulings on this, which we know how they're going to take and fall, it's not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But once again, My case is not like anybody else's case, but since I'm there, I may as well say I have an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Because this has happened to me, this is not happening just to me, it's happening to everybody in the state.
Mm-hmm.
This is where this is here. This is, and you can attack their policies and procedures. We dealt with that on a different show. You can ask them and make them and file a federal case to make them change their policies, procedures, or codes and statutes if they're unconstitutional, and make them change them or adapt them, and or make sure that they have what federal, that's called federal oversight. In other words, you're going to train all your people with this and that. But like I said, there's more to it, is all I'm telling you guys. There's more to my case than what meets the eye, and you're just getting you've been getting a glimpse of it as we've gone through it, including with retaliation, which Darren knows about it. It's documented in my filing too. I was clearly retaliated against for
Mm-hmm.
filing last year in 2025, which you guys know if you've watched and kept up with. Well, that case got dismissed. Yes, but criminal action happened. There's a big difference. I wasn't able to do or respond or this or that. Why? There were other things in play at that time. That's in this case now, and all that's documented. And sometimes you have to wait to collect the evidence. This is why we tell you guys record, keep notes, get that paperwork, get everything, and then you have to put the puzzle together for your own case.
Mm-hmm.
People and know that if something's going wrong, this is how you file and you hold them accountable. But you weren't given these things. We shouldn't need advocates. We really shouldn't, because we all should be under the understanding we're supposed to live constitutionally. So when I say, hey, that's unconstitutional, and I give my reasoning to me, my neighbors, the people in my county, I'm supposed to be able to go to law enforcement and say this. But when law enforcement's massacre up too and in it with the state, that's called co-conspiracy of deprivation of rights under the color of law. Yeah, you've weaponized the sheriff's department, and once again, they forgot their first commitment, which is what? You were elected by the people to protect the people, including against actors of the state that act unconstitutionally as well as federal. It's a requirement,
Mm-hmm.
not an option. But until people are educated, until they know what they're talking about, and everybody else, well, this ain't going to do this, ain't. How do you know? Because once again, have you got a federal filing? Have you ever filed a federal case? No, but I'm going to, well, then shut the hell up. I'm going to, once again, I'm not going to listen to people that have never climbed the mountain compared to the person that's climbed the mountain and been successful, or look at other cases that have been successful and how they did it, the way they did it, understanding the process and breaking it down. All the answers are right there. But once again, you're treating federal courts like state courts. And when you come into the federal realm, it's a complete different thing. And yes, they're going to play the game. But when you file certain things, you compel the court to their responsibility because now you know about it. You guys didn't know that, did you?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know when you're federal filing, you can file a motion to compel the court and all officers that when it comes to constitutional rights or anything that violates those rights, that it's the responsibility of the court to lean your way and not towards the states and to protect your rights. Therefore, you're not the only one watching it, but also the judge and everything else to make sure that nothing unconstitutional happens or no more crimes are committed in the courtroom. Uh-oh. Didn't know that, did you?
Mm-hmm.
You can compel the judge to do their job. Why? It is part of the constitutional canons. It is the duty of the government to protect the Constitution. That's what the oath is for. When you fail to do that as a judge or a magistrate, you commit war against the Constitution and the people. It's an act of war. Now we go under what? War crimes.
Mm-hmm.
Who deals with that? Military tribunal. It's not a fucking joke. It's not a civil case anymore. It's not a criminal. The criminal will do enough. Then it gets to that. It goes over to military. We have more than enough. Now you go to the military tribunal. Why? You just committed war.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, the risen and rare Jim. She says Happy Father's Day to us.
Oh, thank you very much.
Guys, there's a lot of stuff out there that I think we just need to start teaching everybody. Start looking through a constitutional lens in your own life, and maybe it'll be a lot easier for you to take. One, you need to educate, then you need to understand that ain't right, that's call it out. Well, you see it out in public, somebody, a law enforcement, acted fucking goofy, this and that, and people just stand around, you're watching, hey man, that's against his rights. You realize it's this and that. Hey man, you got a right. There's nothing wrong with sharing that. Well, you're interfering with an investigation. No, I'm not. I'm educating. Constitutional rights. You should know this. And if you got a problem with me stating constitutional rights or making sure you're playing fairly with that person, that's the duty of the public. We, the people, is to keep you in check. Oh, well, now I fear for officer safety. Why? We're surrounded by all these citizens turn around and saying it's not constitutional. Maybe you ought to think it's not constitutional and be taught how to look up to it and listen to them of saying, listen, what you're about to do or what you're doing is illegal. It's unconstitutional. If we started holding them accountable for that, one, you're not going to see the arrest that you're going to see. You know why? But you know that unless they see somebody actively committing the crime, the first requirement is not to arrest them, but to present them before a magistrate. That actually putting cuffs on them before that is illegal and unconstitutional. But where are you going to find it? I'm not going to, who has put the constitutional question for that that's happened to you? Why don't you ask the federal courts that? Is that not what the law says? Now you're going to compel that police department to go through re-education. Hey, listen, man, you guys just can't arrest people off the line or this, and that. They have to be an imminent threat to the society right then and there. Well, they've got this. No. Well, I'm going to arrest you for a seatbelt violation. That's a secondary charge, homie.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Secondary charge. What's my primary?
Mm-hmm.
What's the reason you pulled me? Let's go all the way back to intent and all this other stuff. So this first one has to be clear and convincing before you can move to part two. This first one has to be solid as cement. If it's not or it's questionable, this is why we go before a magistrate. Once again, this is why you guys don't remember. Some of us old timers do, but this is why they had something called night court.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Even officer at like 10, 11 o'clock at night or this or that, they're supposed to have a magistrate on call to go beat on his door and say, hey, man, I got to bring you before the magistrate and take him to his house or a neutral area, have your thing, and whether or not you should be arrested.
Yes,
well, we're not following the Constitution, are we?
No, right to jail you go.
Yep. It would end the mass corruption and the police power, false power that they seem to have. If you started operating constitutionally, your arrests and everything else and the courts and everything else would go way down. Way down. And if people knew how to file, not just within administratively through everything else, but straight to the federal courts, I have a constitutional question. Can this particular person as a contractor or a subcontractor act this way, or do they have to do this and still do and follow my rights? No. Even if they're a subcontractor, they are subject to what? All laws and everything else under the state that say it's right in their contract. Well, then they broke the law here, and here, and then, okay, well, then you're fired, or now they take a hit, their insurance goes up. But once again, they're going to hide that, because if they actually took and put that into where you could complain and get rid of some of these corrupt damn people and everything else, they hide the methods so they can hold on to those people because they make money for them. Mm-hmm. Every time. Most corrupt bastard, what do you do when you finally get caught? You get a damn raise. Mm-hmm. And you get put in the office to train other people to do the same shit. Mm-hmm. Illegal shit. Tell me I'm wrong.
Can't do that.
Because the evidence is overwhelming to say that's not true. It's not. Mm. This is where we have to get back to the Constitution and back to what we should. This is why, the people, listen, the power's been given back to us. Washington, D.C. is dead. It's dead. The corporation is not in control. And the power was returned to us. What we do with it, this is where we get into the courts and we start hammering them. Is this constitutional? Is this constitutional? And you get them to stop. And every time they screw up this and that, till they end up in jail. And they're going to have to pay immediately. As soon as people find out that, it goes back to your taxes and all the other things that they've been doing. All of a sudden, they start raising taxes. They're going, no, we're going to replace the damn people.
Mm-hmm.
We need to fix the problem. Fix the problem. The problem is you're creating too much thing. And this is what they do with corrupt cops. And if you don't get them put on that list, and you guys have got to file to make sure these bastards, especially with crimes against children, I want them on a damn Brady list. They do not need to work in another state or anything else for the rest of their life. They need to go dig a ditch. But we still need ditch diggers.
We sure do.
Go do something else. It has nothing to do with the damn people, and you shouldn't be serving for so many years to your retirement. Once again, I believe there should be term limits for law enforcement. And once again, educate them well, which may help educate the public, and then rotate them out. They shouldn't be in there for 20, 30 damn years. Give them so much and then cut them back into the workforce. Why? Because that's a cost to the people. That's a tax to the people. And what better way than to turn around and say, hey, here's a retired guy. You've done 4 years of service, or you've done 4 years of this and that. But learn the Constitution. I mean, the amount of reprogramming that these, well, I know the Constitution. Do you know what applies to this? And, here, do you see anything wrong with this video? If you don't, here, let me show you a video that looks like what any officer would do. And I'll show you once again, it's part of my evidence. Here's one that comes in, opens my screen door, beats on my interior screen door. You just went past the first lockable door. Right there's a Fourth Amendment violation. You walked on the side of my house. Now you're illegally searching the curtilage. Then you ran the plate on my vehicle. I've got it all on body cam footage. I have it. Really? When did you get the right to run my plate over there? Because what traffic infraction was done? That's called a search. Now you just confirmed a search. Then you were dumb enough to turn around and say to your partner, like in my case, and I have it on video, what, you didn't go search? Nope, I was going to search the backyard, continue to illegally search without a warrant, the curtilage of my home, but the dogs were back there. Then come back and beat on my door. You were dumb enough to put it on there and act like this is the way it should be. Hell no. You don't have a probable cause to even be here. Well, you need to talk to CPS. You need to go get fucked.
Mm-hmm.
Now you've used this is intimidation, because once again, you need to talk to somebody. That's giving me completely, do you feel it was a lawful order? No. And once again, you're going to have to do that, because I don't have to talk to anybody. For you to say I have to talk to somebody in here, once again, you have now violated constitutional rights. And when you started with your questions and everything else, you committed another Fourth Amendment. Why? Because you can't question somebody on private property. That's a Fourth Amendment. That's already been ruled on. So when they come in and ask questions like CPS and everything else on there and start asking questions that they have no warrant, and they try to use that information against you, that is a Fourth Amendment violation. It's already been ruled on. You cannot, unless you have a warrant, and then you're more than, and then you still have, once again, this is why you need to read Miranda. You have a right to shut the fuck up. But CPS doesn't do that, and then they use it against her. People need to learn to do this. Where's your warrant? Where's this? And no. Who signed that warrant to come into my house? Well, I got a warrant, I got a court order. This is the one we run into all the time, Darren, and Darren will agree with me. Well, they had a court order from the family court judge to take my children. And then you showed the video where they're in the house. Will they come in? No. That doesn't mean come into your home. Even though they're going to tell you that, you challenge that in federal court, they will lose every time. A warrant was mandatory. Why? That Article 1 judge has no jurisdiction or authority whatsoever to write any order or sign any damn warrant to enter anybody's damn home. Why? Because the Constitution never gave them that power. Only an Article 3 judge. You better do your homework. So when they do that, that's an illegitimate court order. Now, I'm not telling you what to do, but once you identify that and you make it clear and you've recorded it for yourself, is that judge in Article 1 or Article 3? Well, it doesn't matter. No, you need to understand the difference and articulate, because if not, that's an illegal court order and you're getting ready to commit a felony. Because I know the difference, and I know that judge. Is that a family court judge? Yes, that's Article 1. They do not have the power. What you do when they cross that threshold is completely up to you, but you are protected under your Second Amendment. And it says, yes, you can reduce. What's it say, Darren, about resisting arrest of something unconstitutional? What's the law say?
What's the law?
They can resist all the way up to.
I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. I don't know the exact terms of that. You can resist up to what? I don't know. I don't have that answer.
It takes against that officer's life.
Say that again.
Look it up. You can resist a law enforcement officer if they're doing something illegal or unconstitutional, even if it means the officer's life. That's established case law. It's never been overturned. There's been several rulings in the same way too. You have the right, because it's an abuse of their authority. As soon as they cross the line into unconstitutional, well, what happens? Let's go down the logic trail. You lose your qualified immunity, and you also, technically, you're fired from that badge immediately as soon as you just violated the constitutional right. That means they're no more common than a common criminal breaking into your home, which you have a right under the Constitution to defend your home by any means necessary, including your children. Because what are you going to do? They were here to steal my children. They articulated it very well, and they didn't have the proper paperwork. What happens when they come out and TBI gets involved and you articulate that? Show me the warrant, because there's not one, and there's no wet ink warrant, and still court and everything else.
So it says the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled in the Bad Elk versus United States that citizens could use reasonable force to resist an unlawful arrest. However, federal common law and subsequent state legislation have largely eroded or overturned this right.
Once again, do you have a right to be a tyrant? Once again, it's how you fought those cases. If I go all the way back to the founding documents that says I have a right to resist under what? The Declaration of Independence. Now, once again, you got to format your argument with this to where you say you were being a tyrant and I have a right. You weren't coming in the official capacity of law enforcement. Why? You violated the Constitution. I have a right to defend myself. There are certain protocols they must have. One, if there's an emergency or something that they need to make entry, you know what the requirement is? Darren? Squawk box right there.
Box?
On dispatch. Dispatch. Making entry into this and that because of this. They will articulate on the radio, they're required to, before they go in, giving their reasonable articulated suspicion or fact of saying, I need to get in there because somebody's getting ready to die. Imminent danger. It has to be radioed in. You can subpoena those. Show me where it's at. Where did you radio in that there was imminent danger to somebody? You didn't. That's because there was no imminent danger. It's not justified. You can't make it up afterwards. You have to go, what are your policies and procedures? Radio in. And for backup. That's required. If not, you have to say why it wasn't. Was there a gun to their head? Was there this? I mean, hostage situation, this, that. That's a little bit different. Once again, you're obviously not dealing with that. That's not what happened. Let's look within the context and the purview. Did it not? Even if it means turn around, you're now a criminal. People say, well, you can't this and that. They don't have their job. There's no immunity. This is why it strips them of that. But you got to articulate that in your filing. It's now a constitutional rights violation. Why? Because they were being tyrants. They violated the Constitution and broke into my home. Are you telling me that they're covered? Please tell me that they're making this a viable entry. Then you need to provide what? A reasonable articulated fact that they came in. Where's the radio transmission? When you start asking those questions, they're going to freak the hell out. Because now they know. This is your requirement. This is here. This is here. Now, did this happen in your county? Yes. That means I'm going to require a what? Change of venue. You can't hear the case here. Why? Because of bias. Uh-oh. You can't do this. Now we're going to go to why this needs to be what? Change of jurisdiction. Why? This is now a federal matter because it's a Fourth Amendment matter. Does a lower court have jurisdiction on it? Absolutely not. When you can articulate this is on a Fourth Amendment issue, which we need to have answered. And you can promote it that way with that and follow it up with a civil suit and file it that particular way. Now, here you go. Well, we're going to do this and that. Well, now you're looking at it illegally imprison me. You may not like the fact that one of your own wasn't trained and got themselves in trouble. But when you violate the Constitution and you reach towards children, that becomes a what? Plausible threat for the homeowner. And when it comes down to constitutional rights versus the state, it's a requirement under their canons. You have to rule on behalf of the people every time. You don't believe me? Go look it up. It'll say the same thing, and you'll be, holy crap, he's right. Because they're not going to cover the insurance that you broke in. Where's your warrant? Where's your probable cause? You're going to make this justifiable. Then you have to meet these requirements that your code says must be required for imminent danger. Is it there? No. Now we got a problem. Now you're looking at illegal entry, abuse of power. That's deprivation of rights under the color of law. You came in under the color of law saying that there was this, that you didn't like what was happening, or you got on a fucking high horse. This is where you need to teach your officers, you better respect those constitutional rights. Why? It could get you in a whole lot of trouble and you may lose your life. They would think twice. Well, then you've got the whole thin blue line bullshit. Now, we need to do what's constitutional, not this buddy union crap or anything else. You need to act constitutional. You took that damn job, act constitutional. If not, you should not be in that position. Am I wrong? Everybody's supposed to, if you serve in government, you should serve constitutionally. Bottom line. If you don't, within what you're doing and everything else, well, then you're not qualified for the job. It's just that simple. But people have got to understand, in our case, it's come through. Did you come through? Yeah, they lost their immunity. As soon as you do that, your immunity is gone. What happens when you, once again, violate the Constitution, a constitutional right, and it says that for an officer? Right there, the sheriff's department or the city police, they're going to drop you like a fucking bad habit. Your protection's not gone. You were fired when you committed the crime. That's exactly what it'll say. And you put all that on record. Well, here it is. Well, now I need to know, Your Honor, did they commit a constitutional crime because this happened, this happened, this happened? And they're going to turn around and they're going to do self-preservation. Nope, he wasn't one of us, but yeah, we're going to be held liable for it. And it happens all the time. Where was your warrant? This is what they fear going behind. This is why they turn around and they try to train officers, get that damn warrant before you even go into that damn house. A good sheriff's department, anything else, we have a warrant, we have a legitimate reason, it's properly done, and they should be trained to know the difference between Article 1 and Article 3. It has to come from Article 3. Your police officers should be trained on that. Law enforcement, when it comes to the house, listen, man, if I catch you out and about in public, you're fair game. I'm going to snatch those kids. But if they're in the house, there's no way. None of you had the power to do that. And you can ask that under a constitutional question if you had that happen in your case. And trust me, the supporting argument for it, it's not going to be hard because the Fourth Amendment it is one of the most well-documented and consistently ruled in favor of the people of all constitutional rights violations. And you can say the same thing, can't you, Darren?
Yes, sir.
More than the first, more than the second, the House is the most sacred thing and has ruled consistently by SCOTUS, the Supreme Court, everything else, always in favor of the American people. Always has and always will, because you can't. That's why it was put in there. The problem isn't the fact that it's doing it wrong. It's the fact that they're not trained and they need to get their damn egos out of the way and put shit in check. But when you have these good old boy systems that, they think it's like a club and some of these other things where people don't understand this and that, you realize you put yourself in harm's way by doing unconstitutional, stupid shit?
Mm-hmm.
You mean you weren't trained that part of your police academy or anything else? Well, once again, where am I's? I believe that's there, created there. Thank you for the Father's Day. But if nobody listens or cares, they won't, because it's profitable for the state. 1983, if you catch the earlier part of the show. And by the way, guys, if you miss any of the shows, you can always go back on YouTube and watch past shows live. You can also check it out on Spotify. I'm on Spotify. This show is, after it's done, I take the audio recordings and I put it to the Gunning for CPS Spotify. So if you guys are on Spotify, go like that. And you can listen to the audios of all these that we've had put up there thus far. But we're trying to keep up with that and other platforms. And yes, TikTok world. Hello, TikTok world. From my understanding, we are live on TikTok. We finally got back on that thing. That was, man, that was a hell of a headache, wasn't it, Darren? I mean, after so many years and then getting all that stuff on and then finally getting back. I mean, it's, I already had a few things up until I come up with the press credentials, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, well, we didn't know." It's like, yeah, you can't do that, man. You're not going to get me for that. Yeah, go back and you can rewatch the show after the show ends on YouTube. Give it just like, I think, a half hour or something like that, and you can get back on it. But guys, this is so important, man, that you got to learn your rights. You got to learn some of these processes, and you can't just, well, I don't feel like it. My life's too late. Listen, if your kids are that damn important to you, then you're going to learn this stuff. Let me tell you something. And you may not be real good, but once again, when you guys start coming together, and this is what we've been talking about, Darren and I and several of us, when we start coming together and put all the bullshit aside, stop with the hero damn syndrome, find stuff that works, educate people on it. But the problem is we've got so many advocates out there giving false information, false hope, or here, let me just get to the point your kids are taking, then I can help you. No, we need to stop this in to where they don't, because once they get the money in, now they've got your kid on the registry, they got all that. We need to stop it from the beginning. And like I said, that's why this federal case has been filed, is to end CPS, not just here in Tennessee, but in all 50 states. And like I said, the evidence is overwhelming. We are getting a louder voice, guys, and it's because of you out there, our audience, that we've become more popular. People are starting to talk to each other. People are speaking up. They're protesting. They're showing up to the meetings. They're calling out the corruption and the bullshit. They're demanding answers after everything. I mean, we've got this big, huge thing of information that's now been revealed from not only the stuff that was declassified, but man, there's a lot of stuff declassified that never should have been, man. And the people should have known. And that's where it goes to show you there are people that think we should operate like other countries, to where the government should keep these things quiet, or this is that. And that's not the case. We're supposed to have transparency, because we, the people, rule this country, not the government. Those are our elected and appointed officials that represent us in our best interest. But when you start voting and you start going such as lobbies or this or that, and not the people that you represent, you've committed an act of treason, in my opinion, because you don't represent the people. And with these kids being taken all over the place, or now they're getting even bolder again, Darren, going back onto the tribal lands and stealing more tribal kids again. This is ridiculous. How the tribal police are not sitting at the damn borders waiting on these bastards, saying, you can't come in here. And if you come in here, you're like in another country. We will, and they start arresting them. What are you doing? Right, this? They came on our land. Our treaty. As soon as they started coming on here, we started arresting them. It will stop. It will stop. But you've got to get together with your people and stand together. And they've divided us for so damn long over bullshit, over feelings. I mean, you guys watched the video where, I can express my constitutional rights, but how dare you do it? It's not the way this country's set up, man. You best get your head out your damn ass, just as clear as day, and realize, look through it a constitutional lens. What happens and good for you is good for the gander. That's just the way it goes. It's not one party over another. This is not socialism. This is a constitutional republic. If you don't like it or can't figure it out, move to a country that more suits your capabilities. If you can't get a grasp on freedom in a constitutional republic, leave. Go to a place that you actually, they practice what you do. And I guarantee you, you're going to hate it. You don't believe me? Look at Italy. Look at Ireland. Italy's had enough. They've been on strike for months now over this stuff. The European Union. Did you see that, Darren? The European Union
I sure did.
thing. Send them back. Send them back.
Yep.
I don't know.
You can't. Yeah.
We're living
right. Overrun the whole damn town, man. They came right into the Capitol. They merged on the whole Capitol. All the citizens did.
We the people have a voice in any country if you band together with your people and demand change. We've seen this, but when we've got people going behind our backs, or even our own government, such as the CIA and some of the other things that we need to get a handle on, this needs to stop. I mean, some of this other stuff, it needs to stop. And especially to the American people, how dare you? Because there's people out there that have evil in their hearts to do evil things and this and that, but our Constitution forbids it. And just apply the damn Constitution. And then when we catch these bastards, we make the penalties for violating this stuff. Go back to what the Constitution says. Hang the fuckers. If they're guilty of something outside your county, this and that, your judges and magistrates, and violate the Constitution, let them swing, as the Constitution says. Once they're found guilty, that's their punishment, death. Matter of fact, it's very descriptive. If you go back and you look at Carl Miller specifically says, if you find out that they're doing this, a magistrate or a judge, this, that, and the people get together and find out that this has been happening, you take them to the edge of town, you build the gallows, and you hang the bastards, and you let them hang there for so many days, is what it says, to remind the people this will not be tolerated here. This is what we do to corruption. It costs you your life. There's consequences for your actions. So be careful. And this would maybe taken, and well, that's intimidating. They should be scared if you're not doing the right damn thing. Because if the people fear the government, you don't have a constitutional republic. When the government fears the people, we have a constitutional republic. We run this shit. You don't have any powers unless we, the people, delegate it to you. You need to get it through your head. This has got to stop. Well, if you did that, you could do away with 90% of the stuff, and I would live just happily as could be. Because you realize the people, if they just come together as a community and say, hey, we need our roads fixed or this done, we need so much money, and everybody has to pitch in to fix the roads. Okay, we'll contract with a company. We'll pay for this to get done, and then next we'll do this, and next, and you do a long-term contract where everybody gets their stuff done. But you're not going to get that. But the first thing that they want is what? Tear down other things or open fields to put up what? New construction, because it's easy tax money, because it's being built and done to a modern and new level. And they have to meet those standards while the rest of the infrastructure suffers. And it's time and time again. This is not nothing. This is not anything new. This has been going on for decades. As you turn around and look at how our country has grown. Small towns become bigger towns. Some become even bigger towns. I mean, and then you get some, like, you get places like Chicago that has several different suburbs. Well, they're all Chicago. They're just a different suburb. But they all make sure that you pay that city tax, so they get their money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're part of this. It's a tax rate. It's a game, but it's what we allow. Well, if they're going to do this, how are they going to jail all of you? You realize it only took 3% to cause the American Revolution. 3% of the population. Imagine if you just had 40%, 30%, or you had that. You're going to get shit done. But this crap with hero syndrome amongst some of these people that being here, listen, man, be honest, be true. Stop with this bullshit. Stop trying to, look at me type fucking syndrome that some of these people have got. I'm so sick of it. I don't care. I hate that I'm in this spot. I want you guys to know that I hate that I have to come out and do this. Because I would much rather live a peaceful, quiet damn life than be out here doing this stuff. But I know it's necessary.
Yes, sir.
But at the same time, you've got people out there that do this for their shits and giggles because it's the only thing that they have in their life that makes them feel worth doing something. And I'm sorry, that is for you. I wish there was more to your life than that. I wish you would find a hobby or something else to do. Go crocheting, plant a garden. I don't know. But this thing of hero syndrome, Don't let somebody else get the praise because I want to be involved in it and all this other crap, or I want to be on this and on this. You got to understand, man, there are some things that are beyond your comprehension that you want to be a part of. You don't have the mental capability of even having a conversation with. It's out of your realm. And no, it's not an insult. It's just reality. It's a fact. That's why we do what we do to try and educate so you guys don't fall behind. You guys understand some of these things. But when you get a mixed message from some of these other people or people trying to discredit you or pull the games that they turn around and do and go, I challenge anybody, go look it up. Because if not, I'll show it to you. I'll give you the whole path. Look here. Now add some common sense. Duh. Well, that doesn't, no, that's why it was called common law, because it was common sense. Use some common sense. Let me draw you a map like you're a 5-year-old. I can do that. Understanding you're lacking knowledge doesn't mean that you're just stupid. It just means you lack the information. Get the information, learn something different, learn another way. And when you realize your life would have been a whole lot better if somebody would have taught you your rights and how to do some things even at a younger age, they wouldn't get away with the shit that they're getting away with now. Am I wrong? This is why educating you guys on your constitutional rights is so important, because if you really knew what you knew and what you were capable of, it would scare the shit out of these family courts and this CPS workers. I'm telling you straight away. Especially CPS workers that come in, have no warrant or nothing, and bust through, and I have to do an investigation. Well, a couple of them end up popping off. Somebody uses their Second Amendment. Once again, we don't encourage violence or anything like that. But if somebody so chooses to do that, they're constitutionally sound. Where's your warrant? There's case law say you ain't supposed to, and now you're reaching after my kids. That is called a threat, a plausible threat. Especially when you articulate right there, she says, I'm here for the children. That is the worst thing you could say, entering a home, let alone with no damn warrant, and to educate these caseworkers. You realize that could get you killed? I bet you think twice as soon as some people in your district or in your county getting shot and killed and nobody going after them. Well, there wasn't a warrant, because the first thing they're crying is no warrant. Illegal entry, come reaching after my kids with no warrant. They don't have the thing. You can't get past the Constitution. Here's the case law on Fourth Amendment. Does CPS workers have to have a warrant? Yes, absolutely. White versus Pierce County is just one case, but it's a recent one. Now what? You're screwed. Now what do you got? Dead people and somebody doing the right thing. And now they're going to come behind. Not only have they, repelled borders and defended their home, they're going to turn around and sue everybody because that worker wasn't properly trained. Add an insult to injury. Oh no, I'm going to hit you with a civil suit under that Fourth Amendment violation that caused me to do that. But as soon as they reach for my children, that's a plausible threat. Somebody breaks into your house and what's the difference between a state worker and some stranger crackhead coming in, breaking into your house and reaching for your children, saying, I'm here to take your children. And there's no legal binding document or anything else. There's no difference between the two under the law, under the Constitution. You don't have the authority. The state cannot give away constitutional rights. They can't do it. And once again, if it was somebody was imminent harm or anything else, you better hope you can prove it, but it's going to be hard to prove if you're sitting on the floor. People need to understand, and I'm not saying this to promote it, but if you understood your constitutional rights, and they understand that if you come on here and you ain't got your ducks in a row with anything else, you better do it professionally and everything else. If not, we got problems. And in case you guys didn't know, Tennessee just passed a law that also, for that protection of the Second Amendment, goes to your curtilage and your property now. So just stepping on the land is the same thing as entering the house. You're going to play a game of fuck around and find out you don't want to play. And for anybody not to educate you on that, shame on the state for not educating people on putting themselves in harm's way like that. You're going to get somebody killed. And then that family is going to sue the state because why? You never educated them that they weren't supposed to do that, because that'll be brought up in other things. And then there's going to be criminal charges, and then there's going to be all sorts. And now you're going to have a mess. People don't want it to do bloody. We want you to correct this before it becomes an issue to where history tells us it has a pattern of doing this shit and how the courts are going to rule. If it's a constitutional rights violation, everything's null and void. You can't prosecute them for a crime for defending their constitutional rights and the rights of their children. But you got to, once again, you got to take and go through that. Yes, there's a recent thing that was passed, perhaps in Tennessee. It was just this year. I think it goes into effect July 1st, if I'm not mistaken. But yes, that does go with the curtilage law that they just took and rolled on that includes your lawn and your curtilage. That's also defendable as part of it and covered under the Fourth Amendment, is what the Tennessee law says. They're defining it. So now it comes onto that, because there's been too many people in Tennessee that's been shot when they've been on somebody's land and not been there, and there was probable cause, and then they tend to catch a case. This will actually overturn several rulings in cases because it's a constitutional issue, to where some people are actually going to get out of jail for this, because you do have a right to defend, once again, your curtilage and everything else. It's easy to find. It's on the Tennessee recorder through there, that you can look into it and search it under Tennessee.gov and look at law changes. Yeah, that was voted in, that it covers that stuff, and people are freaking out with that stuff. And it's like, no, this is the way it should be. It should be constitutional. And the thing that gets me, Darren, I don't understand how constitutional things such as, Second Amendment things and how they define it or anything else. Once again, this right there is unconstitutional, that a state is even defining this, because the Constitution defines this. You can't further restrict you can add to, but you can't restrict. And if that is constitutional, then it's been constitutional from the beginning. So let's make sure that you do that and explain that. So when you get rulings like that and you say, hey, listen, this was found to be unconstitutional. So if it was unconstitutional this day, that means it was unconstitutional 5 years ago. Exactly. Yes. This is where you file under things like in Tennessee be a Rule 60. Hey, the law's changed. We need to file this because, this has gone on. And if it was, once again, it's a constitutional matter, then if it was unconstitutional today, then it was unconstitutional 5 years ago. So that's your argument. Once again, that's how constitutional questions go. And you can get away with some things that if you answer the constitutional question, the court does on a separate matter. And let's put it this way. When you do a constitutional question, your case doesn't have to go through the whole process of you get a win. Okay, the court answers the question like they have been doing, and you file it the wrong way under your complaint and put it in that way instead of separately. That within that complaint, that goes with your case, and then it establishes once it's been they've gone through the appeal process, and then it's kicked out. You know what I'm saying? In other words, you still win. They just reject it completely, or it goes to SCOTUS, which is the way you go to SCOTUS is through the appellate court. You can't just. The only people that get direct access to SCOTUS is the president and Congress when they have questions. Okay, let's make that clear. You and we have to go through the process. That's just the way the ruling goes. We would see the Chief Justice before we would see SCOTUS. Is that correct, Darren?
I believe that you are correct about that. Yes. Yeah.
So you can escalate a question in the lower courts, and they can consult or have the Chief Justice take over jurisdiction of it because it's so pertinent that the judge can say, I'm not going to answer this question. I'm going to defer to the Chief Justice, which is what is the Chief Justice going to do? It's a member of SCOTUS. They're elected for a certain period of time. The Chief Justice then takes and confers with SCOTUS and says, is this constitutional? They're not the absolute this, and that. They're going to go to, and they can legally do that because they have no interest in the case at the time. They can go and ask, hey, can, this, and that ruling. it's going to be hard for them to overturn that. But with the constitutional questions filed separately as multiple cases, we'll say, and you squashed them together, you filed it separately, that constitutional question, it automatically applies to all 50 states once it's answered. You don't have to go through the appellate court. You don't have to go through the, once it goes to the appellate court, it becomes national case law. You don't have to do that for a constitutional question. This is why it's applicable tremendously. If they don't like that answer to the constitutional question, that judge answers on that, then they would appeal that to the higher court, which 90% of the time on a constitutional question, they're going to get their ass kicked, especially if they're doing within purview, which is why I'm encouraging you guys, use sitting SCOTUS books in their frames of minds and ideals and quote them within your filings will help support your case of saying, listen, I already know how SCOTUS thinks and I already know how this ruling should go if it goes to SCOTUS. Why? Because, you have, Clarence Thomas says it, right here in this book, or says it in, beyond the ruling, just in his book, in books, or Scalali, or some of the others of saying, here, this is the way they're thinking. Why? Because they've already written about it. And I can challenge now that SCOTUS member of saying, I already know, how are you going to take and reverse your decision that you published in this book? This is supposed to be your frame of mind. Because when you do that, they're going to give you a dissertation of why it was rejected or why they didn't do it. And it will back it up with those things. Yes, we agree with that. And to have a SCOTUS member against a SCOTUS member on some things, especially constitutional rights, things like Fourth Amendment and constitutional matters, they very rarely. So you guys have got to understand that, but you've got to do, once again, you don't know how to file that. We're educating on that. But once again, these are some of the things they don't teach you. They're not going to tell you. And I would guarantee you one thing, the damn lawyer sure as hell ain't going to take this methodology when they go to file this shit. They avoid this shit like the plague. This is why I couldn't find a federal attorney. That I had several look at my case all across the nation. And the one that took, he goes, you got a hell of a case, but I'm going to have to charge you like $100,000 and this and that as a retainer to do it. I'm like, dude, you done lost your damn mind. This is constitutional rights. You should take it on a contingency, if anything. And I said, you're going to eat up most of the money anyway, because you're going to want 40% or 60%, whatever the percentages are that are allowable. You're going to push for the maximum. I'm not going to do that. I can argue this damn case. This is common sense. And you should know this. And how dare you charge something for doing the right thing to correct this nation? That's an insult to me. This is where we say a lot of people favor the bar, because you got to understand, when they go burning ground like that, they're going to have trouble in every other courtroom they ever do. So now you may be their last paycheck. This is why we have certain lawyers that are well known for taking high profile cases to do things like the Johnny Cochrans, or what are some of the others of, Darren, big name attorneys.
What's the guy that passed away there? The white guy. He was on that OJ crew too. Oh God, what was his name? Shit, brain cramp.
Yeah. Well, anyway, you guys get what we're talking about is when you do these cases, you're going to get a reputation for something. And you're going to stand for what was right. And now this makes them a high-profile lawyer, or they go as senior partner, or they start their own damn law firm and they do this, and this is all they do. And everybody works under that particular lawyer going after cases, or that firm just specializes in going after these high-profile or this or that cases. It's well known. New York's got its own. Chicago's got its own. Los Angeles has its own. Best of the best, depends on where you're at and what you're dealing with. But these guys are not cheap, and they know this, because they know when they burn that bridge, they know they're going to war with their own people, and they push the envelope. Do they do it all the way? Very rarely. There are some, don't get me wrong, that do challenge things, put in the constitutional question.
Alan Dershowitz, he's one of them. Alan Dershowitz.
Yeah. I mean, you've got a lot of them. And well, one, Michelle Branson, the first thing that I would take and challenge for forensic interviews is did the child have a civil rights attorney present when they were questioned? Because the DOJ is very clear in their criminal resource manual and other manuals that the DOJ uses, that juveniles have a constitutional right of both Fourth and Fifth Amendment. And as we discussed earlier, the Fifth Amendment deals with Miranda, which Miranda says you have the right to an attorney. Where was the child's attorney when they were questioned? Now you can't use that. Why? Because an attorney wasn't present. It's once again, it's bias. It's the magic thing you guys have been looking for on when it comes to forensic interviews and how they coach them and everything else. Is the first question you ask is going, where was the child's attorney during the questioning? Even if law enforcement was present, that's not a civil rights attorney. A civil rights attorney is supposed to be assigned to that child immediately for that case. Why? Because both parents are under investigation. They can't even do that, because then that goes into a conflict. Like, in my case, we were both on there. So that meant an attorney was that. Well, a GAL, no, a GAL is not there for that as a civil rights attorney. They are there on behalf of the state and the child's best interest, not for their constitutional rights. Once again, you're not protecting their rights. Why? Because they were supposed to take, and you come back to, now you violated the child's constitutional rights, and you quote that, you put that in your filing. There's now a conflict, and then you want a constitutional question on it. You've got every bit to do it. Is a forensic interview allowable in court or even family court if the child was not provided a civil rights attorney present when the questioning happened? And it says, and which is mandatory, which is also followed by the Department of Justice, and quote right there in there where it is and exactly all that other stuff. And then you quote the case that rights can be given but never taken away. Now you're looking at a complete different thing. Now you can't use that. That is fruit from a poisonous tree. Why? Because the child was never, once again, given a Miranda. The child was never given a constitutional attorney to protect their rights during that questioning. That is illegal. You've obtained that illegally and unconstitutionally. You guys want that information, trust me, and push that issue all the way to the Supreme Court is what I'm encouraging you to do. Once again, not legal advice. That's what I would do. Is type of thing is I would push it all the way. Why? Because the Constitution's clear. And when you say, hey, the Department of Justice, the highest in the land, follows this, that means the states must follow it. Anything you follow federally must be followed by the states. You catching me, guys? You can use federal, but you got to know how to do it. No. You can't, because if the DOJ, in other words, the entire top tier of the judicial branch, has to follow this, so do you. And if you say you don't, that's an act of treason. You put it in there. It's an act of treason.
Yes, sir.
Because now, what did you violate? What did you violate? The Chevron doctrine. You see how it's all connected now? Uh-oh. You violated the Chevron. You don't get that decision. That decision's been made for you, and under the Chevron doctrine being overturned, you must do is what you were damn told to do by your state Supreme Court and by the federal courts, by law. You are now bound. And then your procedures and the powers and everything else you have, now you go into SEC versus Jarsky that took away all their powers. You want to find me in contempt? Where's my jury? Under SEC versus Jarsky, that was defined for you. You better follow that federal ruling, and you should have known that. Matter of fact, you should have had a class on that, a continued education credit on that decision. These are the powers you do and don't have anymore. You don't have this anymore. And you don't have this. You're supposed to what? Keep up on it. Failure for your judge or magistrate at a local level to keep up on that is called gross negligence. Yes, you can sue them for that. And it's a violation of what? Their judicial canons. Uh-oh. So now you put this all in the federal. This is what they violated state, like a criminal report is what you're filling out. Here's the exhibits to prove what I'm saying. That's your filing. That's your initial federal 1983 filing that we have found out gets through the first section. Keep it simple. Keep it stupid. Once you're in, you're in. You've made your base argument. Then you can add all the rest of the stuff when it comes to your feelings. Those are called punitive damages that you can ask for. And you request that in your relief section of your complaint. But don't go into it in your filings like a fucking moron.
Yeah. Blowing your
They'll kick you out so fast. so fast. I mean, it's not even funny. This is the first thing they do. As soon as feelings are in there, I can go through, and then you look at how it was rejected or why they said it was rejected. Every single damn time goes right to the section. I tell you, right there, you got feelings in number 5.
Mhm.
That's what you got kicked out, and that's exactly what they're pointing out. What does this have to do with this, or what this is? You went down the feeling trail, not the fact trail.
Yeah, you're not writing a book. You're writing facts.
Yes, structure. Here's the
Right.
structure of each. Here, guys, let me give you the structure, and Derek can chime in anytime. Here's your structure of complaint line by line. Your structure should be: this is the crime, constitutional crime,
Mhm.
how you were done, or description of how that was done, and who was involved. You
Mhm.
can include state, you can include federal, all the different codes, because you're in federal court. You can now use the federal. You can even say they violated their own constitution or their own policies and procedure code, and you be very specific at it.
Mhm.
And then you tell how you were damaged or how you were implemented. In other words, this caused me great stress relief, this, and that through here. And goes, but don't be, once again, don't cry on the shoulder to where the complaint is two or three sentences, and then you go on for 2 paragraphs of how you felt. That goes out when you go before the jury.
Mhm.
They can imagine how you felt just from the crime. Let them guess how you would feel if this happened to me. That's what they're going to go through. But when you don't do that, like I said, and yeah, we've run over tonight, and there's a reason we've ran over tonight. And I've asked for Darren's help here, is because this is so basic that you guys are putting the cart before the horse on a lot of these times. Keep it simple, stupid. Tell me that there was the First Amendment violation. Okay, give me a description of how the crime occurred and how you see that the crime was incurred. Tell me the people who were involved into it, and then once again, the last part of it is how I was damaged. Why? Because it's a civil case, and you can go on. Once again, you can put in that words. You can only once again you can go in there to the things of going in there. Irreparable harm. You can just put that on there. When you get to court, that's when you get to elaborate on that irreparable harm. That's for in the court. There's things for the paperwork and things for the courtroom. Okay, and you've got to get this right here. Karen's got this here. Statement of your claim. Your relief, who it's going to, what jurisdiction, making sure that you're telling the court why they have jurisdiction or why this court has jurisdiction over this case. Who were the perpetrators? Who was this? Who was that? Those are the things of this and that. What relief are you seeking? Are you seeking monetary damages? Or are you looking to a change in case law? Are you claiming a whistleblower status? This affects more than you and somebody else. Is it tied to the False Claims Act where they received federal funding and they obtained it illegally? Can you articulate how they do? Just don't say that they did. You have to be specific in your filing of how this was done. Or you go into conspiracy, how they conspired. You have to have a thing. So and so in this conspired with this, and that to do this. You can list it out by each violation. The rest of the court can pretty much infer with a lot of stuff, and then that's what the hearing's for, is to bring out the details. And then you go through, like I said, make sure that you're signing it with your wet ink signature. That wet ink signature that you put at this, that's original. That goes on the file. That goes on your particular case file. Anything after that, you get copies of it. So all the originals get filed with the court. That's law. Wet ink. Make sure you use blue, right? Not black. Blue ink is legal. Don't use a Sharpie. Don't use red ink. Don't use anything else. Blue ink is required for there. Yes, ink colors do matter in filings. Is that correct, Aaron?
It sure does.
So this is why this is important, and you guys need to know this as you're doing this stuff, because we don't want you to fail. We want you to succeed. We need you to understand, but you have got to get off this thing with this. And like I said, coming together, that is the thing we've got to do. We've got to end the hero syndrome. We've got to come together. We've got to get people, do your own filings. File this. This is do your due diligence. Use some AI to help you, but don't run to Chat GPT for everything. Don't take any and everything for granted. Do your research. If it says it in there, you better take it, or it cites a case that some of your AIs are coming up with, unless you program your own AIs, which I know that's something that you can do. It is acceptable by the court to build your own AI from your own thing. You have to, once again, introduce it. But once again, it's used as an ADA tool, that you've got to turn around and do. Otherwise, they're getting a lot of these AIs and trying to put this out as here as practicing law without a license. But which, what wasn't in turn, then all of a sudden, like all the different law firms and some of the other Cornell and everybody started putting on their own AIs. And well, here we're part of the law system. That way we could shut everybody out on sales from doing other stuff. There's all sorts of things. Use what works for you, man. There's a lot of resources. Use multiple facets. Once again, as the old timers used to say, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Use more than one AI. Bounce it back and forth with stuff. And it's funny because I've seen people propose stuff to me, and I go, "You did that with ChatGPT, didn't you?" And they're like, "Well, yeah. How do you know?" Why? Because I know the coding indexes. I can tell right away. Well, how do you know? Because there's certain telltale things in AIs that if it's done and you're just copying and pasting stuff, they know exactly what it is. And these programs that these courts are putting out will pick it up. Trust me. I've already looked into all that too, and I know Darren has as well. It's like you can't use this. And you guys using that Chat GPT, it is not meant for that stuff. It's garbage. Let's put it this way, it's like put out by the system for the system. It's not going to dive deep into jack. It's just not. Like I said, there may be a way to program it, but I've never had any, like I said, and it has telltale signs of doing exactly what it's meant to do, is to show the court, yeah, I'm using AI, which I think there's a bunch of cases on that now, isn't there, Darren, with filings that lawyers are freaking out of, well, it's not a lawyer, they got to put a disclaimer on it, or all because they're afraid of eliminating all these lawyer jobs by just using AI. So that's a big
Lawyers
thing.
step up their game then, don't they?
Well, yeah, but well, like I said, even the courts, and it was funny because a couple of them, judges were getting popped using Chat GPT, and so were these lawyers. Everybody else go, what the hell is this shit? And this doesn't even look right. It's saying people have been catching. It's like, well, wait a minute. If lawyers can use it and judges can use it, well, then we, the people, have every right to use it. And then, that tightened things up because what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Don't tell me a certain select group is able to use this and others are not. Once again, this is lazy. And here's the other thing, and this is what's going to bite one of my judges right in the damn ass, is when they have the prosecution write up their final orders. Whose job is it, Darren, to write up the final orders?
That would be the judges, right?
Yeah, that's their job because they sign their name to it.
Mm-hmm.
So when they don't do it and they do it on there, what else does that show? That shows conjecture between CPS or the plaintiff and the judge. That's called extreme bias, is it not?
But you can put your final orders, your wishes for the final orders on your complaints for the judge to sign off on.
But a judge is supposed to do on its final draft, those are motions in this, but on final orders, they're supposed to write them in their original format because it's their decision.
Yes.
Not the prosecution's. Therefore, the prosecution can't write it.
Gotcha.
Here, write this up for me and I'll sign it. No, that's illegal. Why? Because this is supposed to be your own original dissertation and how you viewed the case, not how the prosecution viewed it. It's how you viewed it, Your Honor. Did you just commit fraud upon the court? Oh, you did. Because you're even dumb enough. Well, it says right there that they wrote this up, so you just admitted to the fact that they just imitated a judge.
Yep.
And that you guys are conspiring with each other. Yeah, right there's the evidence. You see how I spun that around? How a lot of people don't look for that type of thing. Well, look at your.
They mail it or they email it. You got wire fraud. You got mail fraud. You got all of those things.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Look what we just uncovered where everybody's going, oh my God, they did that to me. Congratulations. Now you have information for your federal filing and you can articulate it. Mm-hmm. Now go look up the case laws and some of the other things to support all that, or talk to these AIs and do some research. AIs are great research tools. They're a tool. Mm-hmm. But go through and look at the stuff the right way. Mm-hmm. Article 1 courts are not supposed to be handling anything. When there's that, matter of fact, the reason they're dealing with it, Jennifer, um, Brabson, is the reason is people are not filing to correct the court so they don't get away with it, because you turn around and say you don't have jurisdiction over constitutional questions, and I'm going to follow the procedures. Which, if you have an attorney, they're supposed to know that. Which is what? File on the lower court with the constitutional questions and a stay, and then turn around and notify both the Attorney General of the state and the U.S. Attorney of the constitutional question, and file it under 1983. Ask the question, and then ask for federal oversight. You can do it anytime, even if the 1 or 2 days in the middle of your case, you ain't even had a hearing. Oh, I got a constitutional question. Why? Can they enter my home without, this and that, let alone bring charges and other things that led to that? Or is this fruit from a poisonous tree? You can ask that. No warrant entry. And they're going to say, well, we have the right. And then the federal court's going to turn around and tell you, no, you can't. But once again, it's how you put it together. This is why. And like I said, you got to tie their hands. Don't look to succeed. Look where you're going to fail. Oh, did you hear that? Analyze your case on how it would fail, not on how it would succeed. Because if you look for the places you would fail and you shore those up and you close those loopholes, now they can't kick it back. And yes, there are ways that you can make sure they never kick it back. Otherwise, literally, they are committing treason. And then you appeal it to the higher court and call them out for it. Like, for example, I heard from one judge said that, oh, well, we can't hear family law cases, this and that. Oh, no, you didn't. Oh, no, you realize by kicking this out and doing what you did, that also means you violated the Constitution. And you can, and if you know where to quote and everything else, and go through and go, now follow the constitutional canons, whether or not you're going to kick this back because it's family law. It doesn't work that way, because it's versus the state. You have to hear it. Article 1, Article 3, Section 2, Clause 2 specifically says this is a case in the state. It's supposed to be in your court. Matter of fact, you have original jurisdiction. And if you're kicking back jurisdiction and allowing constitutional rights violations, you put that in there as part of your appeal. Would be my wording. If that come back to me, is then you're making the Constitution null and void and ineffective, because here's this, here's this, here's this, here's that, and you must. And believe it or not, that's how that case in West Virginia on CPS and what was it, the adoption agencies and everything, that mass corruption, got kicked back and told the court, oh no, you will hear this damn case. The Court of Appeals did rule on that. So if you guys are dealing with that, go find that Court of Appeals thing with that West Virginia thing. Use that as case law of saying, no, the appellate courts have already ruled you must hear cases when it comes to family court. Start filing that with that. That make sure that's the thing they'll kick you out on, or you think they will. Well, you have to. Why? The Supreme Court's already decided, fuck you. You don't get a choice. And once again, let's go to the Chevron doctrine, that you have to follow the higher rulings. Now I've tied your hands. You see what I'm saying, guys? You have to get this on paper and let the court know you know what you're talking about, and these are the damn rules, and these are the things you must follow. And when you don't, you are warring against the con. And then you put it right there in black and white. If you do not do this, it is a violation of oath to follow the Constitution, and it says what it says, it means what it says. And you're not doing that of here and there, that it says that that's an act of treason, and you let the court know, I'm not fucking playing. You guys go in there with no authority. There's a big difference. Everybody says, well, how do you do that? I go, you go in with authority. You let them know, you know what your place is in this country and this and that. And well, that's state, national. And no, it's constitutionality, and it's absolute. And yes, a lot of state nationals touch on a lot of constitutional things. But once again, do I think everybody has it right? I think some people have got certain aspects of things right, which is why I've promoted them like April and June when it comes to understanding how to unplug from the commercial system and be a federal citizen, unplug from Social Security, unplug from the IRS, and having the right forms, to actually having a plate that you can go through the DOT, yes, the Federal Department of Transportation, and get a tag. And then when you go through your license done, you go to a passport. You go to a passport, there's a thing on there, do not detain. You can check the box and walk you through that stuff. They can't detain you unless they have a crime. In other words, that bullshit, you can piss off. I'm not under your jurisdiction. Do not detain. You know what that means? You know what that means in law enforcement? Don't fuck with. Don't stop.
Right.
If that's on there, they can't.
Mm-hmm.
They get in deep shit federally. See where that says do not detain and you've detained me and you don't have a crime, like some I've killed somebody. If not, you're not to detain me at all.
Mm-hmm.
There is no you're detained. Nope, you can't continue on. It means leave me the fuck alone. That's on my federal passport. And yes, there's a place on it and they'll walk you through it. Has they been successful? Yes, they stand up for it every day to where they've turned their whole town around. Law enforcement don't mess with those people. Why? They don't have jurisdiction.
Right.
They've stood up and they've been successful. And like I said, there's lots of places that are doing. There's several people that have won cases. But once again, these are people that know how to have conversations, articulations, and have those arguments in courts to where they can defend their position, not just shuffle a bunch of paper. And I've told people several times. I says, you do really good on paper, or I can help you on paper, but once you get into the fucking courtroom, you could fuck everything up by just opening your damn mouth.
Right.
Other than saying, Your Honor, I filed my paperwork and I expect it to be addressed. Other than that, I'm not saying a damn thing in the courtroom. I'm not agreeing to anything. I object to everything that you're going to try and do and this and that. And Your Honor, I'd like to have time to do this. And as a pro se suit jurist person, I'd like to have that ability to research that. Why? Because there's an unfair advantage. You can't hold me to the same thing as that. Why? Because they do this for a profession. I do not. And we're supposed to have equal rights under the law. So how can there be equal rights when you stack the deck on the other side? Let alone you want to get into jurisdiction? Wait a minute. Isn't the plaintiff a representative of the state? How do you even have jurisdiction, Your Honor? Start asking that.
Yeah.
No, that's unconstitutional. Well, wait a minute. What's it? It says right there. It says all cases. There's no subsection for family court or this, that. It says all.
Mm-hmm.
And it means what it says. This is why there's going to be a big problem when you guys catch on what I'm doing and what I've got filed and understand, like I've been trying to educate you people on. You need to get behind as this case progresses because it affects every single one of you. Because if CPS was the plaintiff and came against you, this ruling would make every single one of those orders for every state across the nation void. Void ab initio, as Darren would say. What does void ab initio mean?
Done from the beginning. Eliminate it all. Get rid of it. Doesn't make sense. It was never happening.
It's null and void, is what the Constitution says.
All the way back to the point that happens.
Now, what does it mean? Well, that's what old Gunner's trying to tell you. It means any money they've collected under the False Claims Act that I filed under the status and the Whistleblower Act, every single dime they have received under Title IV on those cases especially, which they'll have to go through every case, they'll have to repay every bit of that damn money. And it means a criminal act for everybody involved for conspiracy, including the caseworker, including the supervisor, including the judge or the magistrate, including all the attorneys that stood there in the courtroom. Why didn't you throw this out? Because you never should have heard the case. Your lawyer you paid. Yes, they may have an issue. Why? Because you're going to have to pay them back that money because you should have filed. Why? Because now you were ineffective counsel. You should have brought this up and knew that this court never had jurisdiction. You have a license that says you should, which now becomes a question across the state. The Tennessee Bar Association, hey, dumbasses, how come I caught it and you never did? Oh, wait, because you made financial incentives. Now we got a problem. This is why they hate me so much. Darren will tell you, They hate me. But they're so scared to come out because I'm speaking out what I'm saying and educating you to where, oh shit, he's right. When you realize we get this ruling, you know what this means? You go get your kids back, even if it means by force. Did you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
We get this ruling and that is void. It means you go get your kids. Your kids were kidnapped from you. Go get your children
right away.
Even by force. Why? Because it's all null and void during this or in that. Tell me where my fucking kid is.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Facts.
If not, we're coming to lynch you. You're going to have lynch mobs. This is why, yes, it comes under national security. And yes, the president probably will be involved. And once this hearing comes out, he's going to have to go public and do something, because now, if not, the people will meet the streets when they realize their children were kidnapped. And I will say, from the movement I'm seeing, that people are waking up, that yes, even veterans and everything else are ready to gear up and go to war over this. It's not a joke.
Mm-mm.
And you're talking about, well, you're talking about insurrection. No, I'm talking about doing what the Declaration of Independence says. It is wrong. It is tyrannical. And now we have brought our petitions before the court. And now we must correct it within this system. And I pray it's done as peacefully as possible and those held accountable accordingly. But do I think that I'm hoping for it. Do I think some people won't take it that way? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think people are going to end up, there's going to be an uprising, just like what we're seeing in other things. But here's the thing, people will take over and they will cast off their local government and their state. And what's going to end up happening? Well, right there, they're going to shake off the bonds of tyranny by one means, and it's one of it. Every bit of it is constitutional. It is not an insurrection. It is a correction, which is why we filed the way we filed. Because as soon as you guys figure this stuff out, you're going to figure out you've got a right. We've got trouble. We've got big problems. And it goes beyond the Epstein stuff. But guys, thanks for joining us. It's getting late, and I appreciate Darren popping in here. I'm going to put him backstage, and I'll talk to him afterwards. Guys, we're just going to close this up. And I know I don't have the rights to this or anything else, but in celebration of Father's Day, we're gonna close this just a little bit different. We're gonna bring this up here. Let's see if the background will act straight. Oh, there we go. But guys, I'm gonna leave you with this. Let's go to this one here. I'm gonna leave you with this from a song that, once again, for Father's Day. Guys, keep fighting for your kids. Try fighting for your marriage or anything else you can. And I understand CPS is tearing marriages apart left and right. Trust me. Because, like I said, it's tore everything else. They have to do what's best for them and their kids. And it's ripped, like I said, my family apart and my marriage apart and everything else. So, like I said, they've still got her kids kidnapped. And no, she's not part of this case because they have her kids currently kidnapped. And like I said, recommendations of other people that went through and here, do this, here, do that, instead of stand. Some people are not meant to stand during this, man. It's going to take some strong people to stand up. And there's a lot of people that just don't have the back or the knees for this. And I'm doing it after having a heart attack, the other day, and still here with you guys, even on Father's Day. And I did enjoy some time with my children. But you guys just, let's close out with this here. And we give you a lot of love and support. Don't forget to go out there and share everything. And like I said, I'll upload this show to Spotify and on other channels. And if you don't, once again, I'm on TikTok, I'm on Facebook, gunning for the number 4 CPS. If you missed this show or you're chiming in late, you can always go back to YouTube in a day or two and watch the episode that you supposedly missed. If not, you can check it out on Spotify, as we do an audio only there. But I want to thank you guys once again for doing the right thing, standing up, stay strong, love on each other, take some time for yourself. Man, this is a long-term battle, but hopefully we're on the backside of it. And once again, the reckoning's here, but man, it's coming to high cost, guys. But be strong, love on each other. So I'm going to close you out with this here tonight, and happy Father's Day to all of you out there. Much love to everybody, and keep fighting and encourage others to keep fighting. Keep them educated, keep them knowledge, keep pointing them here, man, because the quicker and the faster we can grow, especially our weekly shows, especially being on TikTok, man. You guys had great social media platform. Glad we were able to do that. And there's a lot of people we're sharing. We're on Twitch. We're on, I don't even know some of the other channels, but a lot of those media outlets for, we're international too. And this is protected by the First Amendment, as I am press. a member of IFPO. I am an international freelance journalist. But let's see if we can't close this out right here. And I'm going to leave you guys with this. Much love to you guys, and just stay strong, and to all the fathers, even though you're hurting and everything else. Guys, let's just band together, support each other, and lift each other up. But today, especially, guys, it's rough.
I can't hide myself. I don't expect you to understand. I just hope I can explain what it's like to be a man. It's a lonely road, and they don't care about what you know. It's not about how you feel, but what you provide inside that home. Being a man is what you make it. You can't always live up to expectations. You try to please everybody while you struggle, so you fake it and end up out of balance, compromising situations. As a good man, do what he should, man. Give everything he has and do everything he could, man. You might find yourself feeling all alone inside a house you built that you don't recognize as home. And that's what my daddy told me, and I'll tell my son the same. Now that I'm older, I relate and I actually feel his pain. He never cried, he might have lied, but he did not complain. And he said, son, one day you'll have to do the same. I get emotional when I stop and think, and I look around beyond the county lines of my small town. I think about all the men out there who feel like I do now, who are screaming on the inside but won't ever make a sound. I don't expect you to understand. I just hope I can explain what it's like to be a man. It's a lonely road, and they don't care about what you know. It's not about how you feel, but what you provide inside that home. Don't give up, keep fighting. As a man, our sun is our horizon, and our father's actions play a role, and we end up like them. So they can't let us see them hurt, because we'll embody what they do and start a generational curse. No wonder most men are so depressed, all the things that they can't express. They go to war, get thrown on the shelf, then go back to war with their mental health. Then grab that bottle and ask for help, try to pull themselves out of hell, then fall back down and then realize that they're gonna have to do it themselves. It's the circle of life. As a man, you provide. They don't know what you're worth till the day that you die, and that's when they start crying. Then move on to a man to confide in. That's why we feel we can't hide ourselves. We don't expect you to understand. We just hope we can explain what it's like to be a man. It's a lonely road, and you don't care about what we know. It's not about how we feel, but what we provide inside that home. That home. It's not about how we feel, but what we provide inside that home.
I'll say one last thing. You know, it kind of hit me hard one time when somebody says, the only time a man ever receives flowers is on his casket on his way down into the ground. Don't let that be for the men in your life. It don't have to be flowers. Love and support somebody, because you never know the difference that you may make, especially with suicide so great. Guys, this is Gunner with Gunning for CPS. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
The system has fallen. Blount County CPS. Normalize. Gunner rivers rising from the ashes of deceit. Blount County CPS, your lies have lost their heat. Stormed in without warrant, ripped the family apart. Branded an innocent man, tried to shatter his heart. Fabricated reports, registry of shame. No charges, no trial, just a corrupt game. Now the federal court is watching every crooked move. The hunter becomes the hunted, your empire will lose. Feel the ground shake, hear the thunder roll. The truth is a weapon and it's claiming its toll. This is the reckoning. Gunner Evans bringing the storm. Blount County CPS, your reign is torn. The reckoning. Justice screams your name in fire. For every stolen child, for every broken empire. The reckoning is here. Burn higher. Years of separation, pain they try to hide. Your gunner stands unbreakable, fueled by righteous pride. Blount County DCS crossed the final line. Now the lawsuit strikes like lightning, exposing every crime. No mercy for tyrants hiding behind the state. The people are awake and they seal your fate. Power you abuse will crumble into dust. The Father's war is raging, injustice we trust. Feel the ground shake, hear the thunder roll. The truth is a weapon